feeling good like that, so what you gonna do? And I can't stop thinking about you, but what you gonna do? And you know I'm feeling good like that, so what you gonna do? And I can't stop thinking about you, but what you gonna do? What you gonna do? What you gonna do?
One, two, three, four.
Oh yeah. Oh man, would you look at me? You're just another one hit wonder, that's what everyone sees. Ain't it funny how you wanna be the best, but you can't even get up and get dressed? Wasted, face it, you're never gonna make it. Rockstar, you won't get far, and I know you're confused. People tell you you can be anything you wanna be. Wanna go to outer space, superhero in the streets. Oh man, what a lie, what a time to be alive. How have I survived? Life's a battlefield, 1974.
Baby, I just wanna be alone. I don't need your company, stop blowing up my phone. You don't get the things that I've been through, and I don't have the time to lay it all in front of you. And you think that you wanna save me. You don't know it, baby, why you do this? I got this under control. You think you do, but you really don't know that I don't need a savior. You can't be my savior. I'll save myself. I'll save myself. No, I don't need a savior. You can't be my savior. I'll save myself. I'll save myself.
Happy Friday, everybody, and welcome back to another NECC broadcast. It's Overwatch time out here, and it is a very exciting week for some collegiate competition. I'm Tiny Shiny, joined by Twin Salty, and Jesse, you gotta say, there's a lot of stuff that has happened both in and out of Overwatch over the past 5 days.
Yeah, it's been quite the busy week. I have a feeling for teams and players alike, as 5 new heroes are in the game. And unlike sometimes where, NECC, they will ban the hero for 2 weeks when they first are released, it's too big of a change. Everybody is in right away for NECC competition. Tonight is our first official look at it, and I cannot wait to see maybe some of these new heroes that teams are going to be messing with.
Yeah, 5 new heroes, a reworked map. There's so much chaos that's going to come into play and very little time to practice it. So I'm really hoping that some of these teams who may have had the opportunity to experiment over the last couple of days get to show that to light. The first pair of those teams will be St. Ambrose University taking on Doan University. So both teams 1-0 in the Division 3 for Central B. Looking to make that a 2-0 for one of these squads. And, St. Ambrose, they're here before, but Doan Esports last semester were in Division 4, won the entirety of their individual conference, and have qualified now for Division 3 this semester.
Yeah, you can tell Doan are hungry. Get promoted up from Division 4 after a big Map 7 win in that final for their conference. And St. Ambrose, like you said, maybe looking for a little bit of revenge. They were 1 map away from making the final in that one, but they fell to Purdue and eventually got 3rd place in their conference. So 2 teams similar but different in what they want to prove this season. Obviously, we got a long ways to go until we get to playoffs, but you want to get these early wins, kind of build it up, especially when nobody really knows what this meta is going to be. Like, everyone has a feeling, Vendetta Zarya is still pretty good, which they're not wrong, but I have a feeling a lot of these new heroes still have a lot to be messed with, as where else to test it out but the one and only Lijiang Tower.
I was gonna say, new heroes, all this fun new stuff. Nah, same old map pick. That's just how it is. And, I think adding some level of familiarity is good, but it already shows that these new heroes are having an impact. Jetpack Cat, one of the newest and most fun additions to the game, will be banned by St. Ambrose to start, whereas Reaper will be taken away by Doan. So this can be a very both brawling and aerial defense map, depending on what point we are on. Gardens, where we appear to be starting, is more of that sky is the limits kind of deal, so the Jetpack Cat making a lot of sense.
Yeah, the Jetpack Cat, I won't lie, is probably the most banned hero in the games that I've played over the last week. I'm not sure about you. I think Dominus probably second, but no, the Cat has been banned quite a lot, so not a shock here, especially on a map. You can pretty much send them off anywhere. That hero is taken away. But we get these first looks at the teams, and shocker, we talk about all the new heroes. None. None to start off with from either side. Doan going with this Ramatra Rush with the Bastion to try and burn down the opposing tank. And Vavman, the Torbjorn is pulled out.
Poor Venture Zarya. Not on my bingo card, but St.
No.
Ambrose, well, they're bringing out the cheese comp today, and I'm kind of here for it. I think Dome's composition overall is a bit easier to run, especially if you can have Bra synergize with Creeper on May. It'll be a burrow into the back with the Zarya bubble, but that's not going to save you from Fuel and a May wall at your back. So Lark overstepping his bounds, definitely learned his lesson at the start. But St. Ambrose, they still get the first cap on the point. Dome never can move up because Bra fell on the other side of that. So a lot of those main resources just went up going towards Lark.
Yeah, it's like you do wall off the Venture, you get the pick, but you also walled off all of the heals for your tank, who's getting obliterated by a Zarya. So a little bit of a catch-22. Sword doesn't fall on the right side that time before Dota. Now St. Ambrose in this setup here on the pump, Amp forced out early from Dumpster Baby. I mean, Dumpster, yeah, that's an interesting name. I didn't even clock that until now.
I was waiting for someone to say it. I was like, oh man, I'm so glad you did first.
Oof.
We're having a good time with it. And we got Bra on the other side. Oh, this is gonna be great. I mean, Doan would be even better if they could get towards the point. Didn't get great value out of the May wall. It's kind of just to lock people in. And Doan walking into a bit of a trap. And Bra, not too much that he can do. And the rest of the team got focused down first. Great target priority by St. Ambrose.
Yeah, fantastic there from St. Ambrose. And now these ultimates really start going into play. Kitsune Rush with the grab, even the Molten Core into the grab potentially. Here from the Fighting Beast, Doan. Yes, they have some going up after the Tectonic Shock. Didn't necessarily reap the benefits that they were looking for last fight.
Yeah, no, not exactly. And I think Doan understanding that, they're going to switch things up. They're going to have Creeper Sweeper swap on over to near the Venture that Lark has found some good success on. But a Graviton Surge early from Cranky Guy.
Oh,
that's a good 1-2 punch with the Lark emerging from the burrow, smack dab in the middle, and Bra sent to a rather watery end. St. Ambrose flawless so far.
Yeah, so far St. Ambrose is controlling the entire pace. Only one ultimate at a time here for these next few fights, but now they don't have to hold anymore. They're going to have 4 for this final fight, and Bra is already off the Ramatra. Annihilation never popped. Goes over to the Wrecking Ball to try and get this opening touch.
A little bit of rolling around, a little bit of shenanigans to see what you can do, but for Doan, they don't have all of these resources to pull out, especially with Spearmanane falling first. He really wanted to have his Orbital Ray in the fight, but no longer an option, unfortunately, for the Tigers, where St. Ambrose, they got everything, especially that sound barrier that Dumpster Baby will toss on out there. Make sure nobody else falls down at the tail end, leaving only poor Bra, no friends, just one loaded rodent to be dealt with here. Lark gives it a bit of a helping hand. Eventually, we'll see Spearmanane return to throw Orbital Ray, but not in enough time. St. Ambrose 100-0 to start off Lijiang Tower.
Yeah, my goodness, Lark just popping off on the Ventures so far. I know our resident Venture fan in this call is very, very happy to see it. But yeah, that's pretty much perfection from St. Ambrose, right? Only 3 deaths in total, 2 from Lark and 1 from Vavman. When you know your supports and tank have yet to die, yeah, you're playing pretty well, I would say, Molly.
That's a pretty fair statement. You know, I can get behind that. And I do think that Zarya is still so incredibly strong. Had a couple changes to some perks and whatnot, but if anything, it almost made her a little better in some ways. And Cranky Guy reaping the benefits of it. And it's really helpful towards players like Lark to help St. Ambrose initiate. Rolling out to Night Market now, and they're going to switch things up quite a bit.
Yeah, pretty much committing to this full dive now. Wrecking Ball, Tracer, Echo. Now, as the supports will try and stay a little bit further back, but their issue is going to be when these dives come in, can the backline survive? A Mule won't be alive to even be part of it.
Yeah, it kind of took a drill bit and toppled over, and so did the lobby. Apparently, Lark is simply too powerful to be handled in this current server. So we're going to go ahead and get that DC taken care of. I believe it was one of the players on St. Ambrose. So we'll get them back in. Nice part was at the start of a round. No fights really happening yet, so not the end of the world.
Yeah, and if it is a St. Ambrose player that DC'd, it actually makes it a 4v4. So maybe something that Tone won't complain about too much. Considering the start of that fight was far from ideal. But like you said, you got all these new heroes, and Zarya arguably still in a great spot. Even though a little bit of a damage nerf came in. The perks, you kind of noted on it. Her new major perk is just a little crazy. Yeah. Right? Like, oh, you pop bubble and you build charge? Like, guys, what were we thinking with this perk? Because it's just fantastic. And I honestly thought her ally bubble perk
Yeah.
Was fantastic, and now it's a minor. Like it's a little crazy. So I have a feeling tonight, and even these next few weeks, still seeing a lot of Zarya. Whether it be the Venture in this case, kind of utilizing those bubbles, a lot of times the Vendetta as well. We're gonna be seeing a lot more Zarya.
Yeah, if you have a tank player that can play that particular hero, I think it sets your team up great in this meta. I mean, that's kind of something we were all thinking about when this huge patch happened. You had 5 new heroes thrown into the mix. How would that really shake things off balance? Not a lot of them have actually come to stick or move the meta around.
No.
The Zarya has remained incredibly oppressive. The only one that's kind of been played is Domina, but I wonder with how new she is, whether teams are going to be comfortable enough to pull her out in a series as important as this.
I have a feeling it to be very map specific. Like I would only pull her out in a dive, not a dive map, sorry, a poke map. No, definitely not dive. Good God, that's probably the worst thing for her. But whether it be a Havana or a Circuit Royale, something like that, where that photon barrier, which is the longest beam in the game, can really use the distance as a factor. But in a map like this, you're just not really going to see it. I think Onran also has a chance to get a little bit of playtime with the recent buffs. Her kind of final blow was a little bit hard to achieve sometimes. You'd, hit, and try to fan the flames, and by the time you're fanning the flames, like, oh, they're getting healed, and the buff isn't even that much. So I have a feeling maybe we'll see a little bit of her. But like you said, I wonder if teams are just a little too afraid to bring some of these new heroes out in this kind of game quite yet.
Like, it honestly feels like a next week kind of thing. If we get it tonight,
Maybe.
Great. Like, clearly Jetpack Cat being banned shows that, might as well not take the chance. But I think it is just a little bit more time for some of these players to get used to it. And I think if we are going to see many swaps, it's been Doan so far. They had a complete makeover heading into round 2. And, I think they had a good game plan, like with the Ramatra, kind of leaning into this May of Creeper Sweeper. They just never really got that set up. I feel like the Zarya is really just Lark with Zarya bubbles. It is running circles around them. So it's been difficult for them to keep up. And hopefully once we get back into lobby, we can see what the hamster comp is all about. Does look like we're having some player server issues. So we are currently working on getting that resolved. So appreciate you all bearing with us here.
Yeah, we just saw a message. The player who DC'd has 200 players ahead of him just to get into the game. And apparently this is not the only issue. This is not the only lobby having similar issues. I just got a text from an Alvernia player in D1 like, hey, we are having the same issues. Your stream is not. You guys are not the only ones. So, yeah, it looks like a little bit of issue on the game side, but there was a giant influx of players this week with the update. I wonder if the servers are still trying to recover a little bit with all of the new players or returning players coming in. But I do feel like, it's going to be maybe a little bit longer. But honestly, if you're Doan, you take the break because the first round, rough, to say the least. But you gotta think, use this time to game plan how to counteract the Zarya. I think the May early wasn't a bad idea per se, but I feel like you almost got to play at a faster pace than what the Zarya in the composition from St. Ambrose is going to allow.
Yeah, and it's a good natural break time, even if it's unintentional. But get a little more thinking in. And speaking of breaks, we are going to take a short one ourselves while we get everybody loaded back into the game. So stay with us. We'll be back with our NECC broadcast in just a little bit.
Stop blowing up my phone. You don't get the things that I've been through, and I don't have the time to lay it all in front of you. And you think that you wanna save me. You don't know it, baby, why you do this? I got this under control. You think you do, but you really don't know that I don't need a savior. You can't be my savior. I'll save myself. I'll save myself. No, I don't need a savior. You can't be my savior. explore. Imperfect visions, like I've been here before. Falling faster, I try to ignore. I see you, I see you. I'll let you drag me to hell if you hold my hand. Tell me this is real and it will never end. This is not what I came here to find. Memories show that I'm out of time. See a shadow.
And we're straight back in right after those technical issues are resolved. Swag Fish has rejoined the lobby, and hopefully it will remain that way. As first fight was just happening, kind of as this all was unfolding. So it is enough for Doan to even out the fight. They snagged Lark at the tail end of it, but I mean, Bra actually gets two with a boop from the Wrecking Ball. That's not something you see every day from the hamsters on this map, but unfortunately, Cranky Guy is playing Zarya, and Big Laser is better than no laser, so St. Ambrose will still get the first kill.
Yeah, bro, you didn't have to do that to Swaggy. He literally just got back in lobby, and it gets booped off as soon as he gets to the fight. A little bit rough there for the Cuticle, but still St. Ambrose win that one. And yeah, it's going to be the issue here for Doan. They really have no sort of finish ability other than the focusing beam from Creeper Sweeper to try and, you know, at least get Cranky Guy's health down a little bit. They almost have to pray they get one of these supports before then.
Mini heart attack for all the Bra fans out there, but hey, it's okay. He is all right for now. Dumpster Baby, though, hunted for more, but no! It came back to bite him. Barely snags onto the wall at the last second as Bra gave him a taste of his own medicine there. And can we just stop playing on the edge of the map? This is getting too stressful. Dumpster Baby, yep, looking for another one, but no!
Yep.
It's another double! This is illegal. Should not be happening, but Cranky Guy again, if he's not dealt with, it still just cannot be a one fight for Doan. With all the pieces crumbling around Cranky Guy, you'd think he'd finally be taken care of, but hung on to life for quite a long time there. Eventually, Doan will manage to get the cap, and it took some serious heroics from Bra.
Yeah, a lot of heroics and maybe a dash of luck here and there. But the Tigers are finally on the board here on Lijiang Tower, and now they can really spread the map. They have the minefield. They have this pulse bomb as well from Mule. What? That's going to be tricky.
I was going to say, well, you know what? Cranky Guy has a Graviton Surge, and yeah, the pulse bomb not going to do a whole lot there with full supports being down from Doan. They're just going to play the stall game, see if they can get a couple extra percent while they're at it, and doing a decent job at kind of keeping those trades even, but Mule going down there. We'll be back over to St. Ambrose.
Yeah, right as I was saying, like, oh, they're playing split up. It's going to be great. You know, the two players who were playing together, the supports. Who got grabbed? The supports. So great awareness there for Cranky Guy. Very quick fight there for St. Ambrose, and already Brock getting sent in.
Yeah, Tidal Blast gets a double knockdown from what I can see. Cranky Guy
Not again!
really well in the front line. Can we just stop playing on the outside of the map, people? Surely we would learn by now that Bra is looking for these boops, and but it's still not enough. Like, that's the crazy thing. No matter how much Bra does, Doan just cannot get on the point, and it's last fight territory. So you kind of have to commit. The minefield will be laid down. That Spider turret has been there forever. It makes it so difficult for Doan to have to contest, and they're just losing player after player. Cranky Guy is too much of a stable point for his team. St. Ambrose have a sound barrier, and there's just no touch at all from Doan. St. Ambrose were so in control of this fight, even down members, and they're to claim Lijiang Tower because of it.
Yeah, very swift 3 and 2-0 on the map here for St. Ambrose to start off the series. And yeah, who else is going to be the MVP but Cranky? Just absolutely pretty much ran over the team single-handedly in multiple phases. And this was like, oh, big double boot. You're thinking Dawn are going to win that fight. And the Zarya finds two, finds another one right after. And all of a sudden, that fight gets completely flipped on its head. And if I had to guess, if we go to King's Row or something like that, I got a feeling the Tiger ban is going to be a certain tank.
I think that's a safe bet. I think Zarya is a problem, and she's one of those heroes that if you can't mirror her, it's kind of hard to find a strict answer. Like, honestly, I liked the approach that we saw with like the Creeper Sweeper May and all of that. I don't think they got a good fight on it, but I think that is a better option going forwards if you are forced to play into that. But of course, bans are now reset for the time being, unless you are banning Jetpack Cat or Reaper. But I do gotta say, I think Doan are still kind of getting used to playing against this specific level of coordination. I think St. Ambrose were very methodical in the way that they were rotating and retreating accordingly, based on like those small little pushes that we saw on the angles from Doan University.
Yeah, there was definitely some good signs there from Doan. Like, a few of those dives were great. Obviously, the Wrecking Ball tech was pretty good from Bra, but it just felt like they weren't able to fully dissect this hold from St. Ambrose. As soon as they got that point, they were not letting it go. Cranky's going to find a way to get some of your squishies, and they know, hey, I got 2 bubbles. You're not doing anything, right? Like, there is no way you're going to kill me unless you all coordinate at once. So it's going to be a little bit of tall order here for Doan, but we'll see where we go here for map 2. They could easily go like, hey, we want to try Watch Point. It's the new version of the map, and the Zarya really wouldn't work that well, so maybe that's a direction they can go without having to burn that Zarya ban so early.
And yeah, there's the other part that you could just force a change and then save your bans for a map that perhaps you might not want to pick yourself. But at the same time, I think getting on the board here is just as important. I'd love to see more of a comfort pick from this Doan college team. I am interested though. Is it more like I like the trying of the Wrecking Ball comp. I think those are going to be really hard into teams that are as coordinated as St. Ambrose. But if you want to play a map that might be a little bit more fitting for something like that, I think either of our flashpoints, even some of the push maps that are available are also good options. But it's collegiate, Jesse. I think that's why both of our minds just instantly went to King's Row. Like, we know what's going to happen. We just try to convince ourselves that it's not. Is it not?
Well, it's not. I actually just saw the map pick here. I'll kind of wait for it to show up. But we also have a role swap. Midori is going to tank. Bra is going over to support, so maybe more want to try that ball tech with Bra, and now goes over to support. Okay. Well, Midori to kind of maybe go into a traditional rush and poke, and maybe that's the Zarya that Doan is able to pull out. But it's going to be Atlas as our second map, is one of the newest maps in the game, and I'm a big fan of Atlas. I'm an Atlas believer. It's definitely better than New York City, but. It's a great map, and yeah, there we go. The Zarya ban has been pulled out immediately from Doan, and Wuyang will be the answer from St. Ambrose.
Yeah, so the Zarya, I think that makes sense. A map like Atlas, it is still pretty close quarters. Any Flashpoint map will be like that, so not a burn of the Zarya ban, at least from now. I'm very interested to see what Midori is going to pull out. I think it's very rare that we see role swaps like this, especially as we climb towards these higher divisions, but Doan giving us a bit of taste of flexibility perhaps as we go into Atlas, which, as you said, new, but also a very infrequently picked map.
Yeah, it's really not picked that often. A lot of times if you're going to pick Flashpoint, you're going to pick Suravasa, so maybe a little bit of a change here, and this is not what I thought we were going to see. We are teasing up a Junker Queen Mir.
Whoa!
Okay. The Zarya is gone, which is a big counter for Junker Queen, so I understand that. The Kiriko, yes, is in play. It helps your Junker Queen, but also counteracts the opposing Junker Queen. The only difference here is the DPS. Vavman and Lark, again, close quarters, both sides. It'll be the Venture Reaper for St. Ambrose. The Sombra Genji here for Doan.
So more of like a brawly type variant for St. Ambrose, and sort of like a flanky dive angle for Doan, but the dive angles haven't gotten set up. Cranky guy says, screw that, I'm running it down. Manic shouts into the entirety of the team, Midori and Sparrowmane, just get bowled over. So that's kind of the power that you're going to have with Vazman and Lark on the Reaper Adventure alongside Cranky Guy.
They're like, oh, you're going to set up a flank? That means we got a 5v3? Cool. W key, team. And already swaps coming in. Venture will get matched by Creeper Sweeper and the Baptiste now for Sparrowmane. So trying to maybe not win as much with the speed, knowing they may not be as aggressive as St. Ambrose, but trying to keep that sustained for a counterpunch.
Yeah, you're more like gonna have to meet them head on. You're just not the ones doing the walking here. And St. Ambrose proving that that might not be working out the way that Doan wants. Lark immediately finding his Venture counterpart, looking for more, unfortunately. Forgets how stairs work and can't quite get back up to the top. So St. Ambrose actually end up losing out on Vazman. While this all happens, makes it a little bit sloppier, but at the end of the day, Doan down significantly more in numbers.
Yeah, it's just Mule. Gotta mulling it over on point. Like, how long can I stall this, even though it's not worth? Fight goes over to St. Ambrose. No ultimates even close for either team. If anything, it's actually Midori for Doan, who is the closest. But they gotta focus on getting a touch on this point. Probably going to be Creeper Sweeper underneath.
There is a touch to come in, and Cranky Guy, not in the healthiest of places, has to back out, uses the rest of the speed from Dumpster Baby to regroup with his team on the objective, and Midori actually gets left on a bit of an island there on the high ground, 2-for-1, favoring St. Ambrose for the time being, but Cranky Guy looking to make those odds go into St. Ambrose's favor. That is exactly what will happen. Clean up in from Lark, and St. Ambrose picking up where they left off.
Yeah, keeping that form from Lijiang Tower and a clean 100-0 for the first flashpoint of Atlas. And now going over to the second one, a few stragglers here for Doan. Kind of mating up with the rest of the team now. Lark's got to be a little careful here. You don't want to get knifed back into this.
Yeah, you don't have any Zarya bubbles anymore, which makes it harder to cleanse the Rampage, which actually got everybody but Cranky Guy there. There's plenty of health to tank it up. Great play by Swaggy Fish, and the engage just going to keep going forwards. Cranky Guy now putting the Rampage forwards onto Midori. Those health bars of Doan are suffering right about now at the cost of the Fighting Bees. Points now unlocked, so everyone from St. Ambrose going to rotate over, let the rest retreat.
Yeah, you can tell Cranky Guy's like, oh, cleanses out from Raw, let's go. Even though it only gets Midori, it gets the opposing tank and finishes the fight right there. More swaps now coming in for Doan. The Moira has been one that I think we missed last fight. Maybe just try to deal with Lark, if anything. Trying to have some sort of self-defense, and the Orisa as well.
It'll be a Dragon Blade actually from Mule. The sound barrier a bit late out of Dumpster Baby. You lose out to the Swaggy's Fish. The sustain limited now for St. Ambrose, but Doan not exactly in the healthiest place either. Sparrowmane opting to hold on to the Coalescence instead of pop it to potentially elongate the fight as Dumpster Baby walking forward to help Lark with this cleanup.
Yeah, this is just like you're about to see a train crash and you can see the car is stuck on the tracks and there's nothing they can do. It feels like this right now for St. Ambrose. It just nothing can stop the freight train. They still have Tectonic Shock from Lark. Yes, the Coalescence and Tectonic Shock from Creeper Sweeper and Sparrow could make a difference here, but they're going to need a lot.
Woo! Tectonic Shock, massive damage from Lark. Not going to result in any final blows. Actually, he's going to get stapled, courtesy of Midori there. Had enough of the pesky Venture. And yeah, it does get Doan over to the point with the fight that they can perhaps pull out into their victory. Little health bars, but St. Ambrose definitely struggling in terms of numbers. Batman almost had a sneaky escape, but not that time. First percentage now over to Doan.
Yeah, Doan will scrape by, and they actually keep the Tectonic Shock during that fight as well, so that gives them something to at least build off of now and maybe get this 0 to 100 with St. Ambrose at 99%. But now, again, they don't have the speed advantage to get out of these rushes, so they gotta play this really smart.
Yeah, and especially with this Tectonic Shock. I like that Doan are choosing to go first. Creeper Sweeper, daring to catch anybody off, and that's pretty much it. You use the ultimate, everybody goes away. And St. Ambrose did a fantastic job of kiting that, knowing that they had the speed advantage. And now you can just use Swaggy Fish's Kitsune Brush to get yourself back onto the objective. Midori has a tectonic shock, and that's really all Doan are going to be able to work with here. I'd like to see him use it before he dies, but he doesn't get the opportunity to. I just thought he could anchor on point, just didn't have the sustain from his supports around him. Point back over into St. Ambrose's control, and it looks like it's going to stay that way with the track record that Dumpster Baby and Lark have had. 2-0 now for St. Ambrose.
2-0, and only the Kitsune Rush used for the Bees. Now going over to potentially the final flashpoint round of Atlas. And like you said, Midori's like, oh, I can hold down point. And it's like, oh, no. Not, maybe not as long as the tank was hoping. And Cranky, oh, you can tell he wants to go in, wants to catch the backline, but instead, going to play this closer to point with the ult in hand.
What a nice.
Oh my god.
That was fantastic. I mean, Cranky Guy does get a little stopped up on the Orisa. Midori wants to pull this out, but no, here we go. That is a massive risk for Doan to end up taking, especially knowing Dumpster Baby had that sound barrier online yet again. So St. Ambrose get the cleanup, and we'll have another first cap.
Yeah, first cap goes over, and again, you take those just those solo ult trades. Honestly, if you're St. Ambrose, you find the one pick because they're always able to snowball the second, the third, the fourth right afterwards. And St. Ambrose, nothing they can do wrong right now. But both support ults and Blade here for the Tigers to try and get an early flip.
If this is a fight the Tigers will win, I don't know what is if this doesn't work out. I mean, brah, you have the best tool to get into a fight, being the Kitsune Rush, and Batman feeling a little scared for his own life, but clearly not enough. Goes back in, Death Blossom in tow, picks up a double. St. Ambrose, they're right back where they were. That was a 1-for-2 ultimate exchange, and one Doan will want back.
The patience there from Vavman was so good, just waiting for the supports to fully commit to that fight on point. Won't turn around in time. Great ultimate there from the Reaper, and now Doan maybe some last second changes. Juno and Sombra and Sojourn into the fray. Only the Koa in hand.
Lark, though, already in the backline. Midori's health bar suffering immensely. Sparrowman can't get there because Lark already knew where he was going. That's map number 2, now over to St. Ambrose. And Jesse, near flawless gameplay I'm seeing from this team. They have their strat. They're confident in it.
Yeah, it's working perfectly right now for St. Ambrose. Whether it be the Zarya or the Junker Queen, this rush comp is just unbeatable tonight in this one. And you gotta think now for Doan. Back to the drawing board. Still got hybrid push on the board. Potentially even escort available. So maybe you shy away from these rush maps. Maybe go to either a poke or a dive. Maybe just change up the pace of play a little bit. Because right now when you're going on these maps where it's very high tempo fights, St. Ambrose seem to be just on the perfect pace.
St. Ambrose, like, even if there was like those couple fights that don't have the opportunity to initiate the rotations, it just perfectly put them all out of harm's way, and they always had Lark in some lurky kind of rat position to help work out or just support the tank, whatever it was needed. And it shows that not only can this team be flexible, but they're communicating with each other, they're working as a unit. And like something that I always like to look out for in collegiate teams that is, as long as you're doing something together, whether you're winning the fight or you all die at the same time, you're doing it together. It shows the communication is there, and I'm really seeing that from St. Ambrose today.
Yeah, no, it's been fantastic from St. Ambrose so far. You can tell everybody is on the same track. Everybody's, I have the same game plan from practice. So, no, it's been great for the Fighting Bees. But now we're going to give Doan just a little bit of time here to figure out where they want to go for map 3. Maybe start this reverse sweep. We'll be back right after this break.
Don't know if it's mine, but I see you. I see you. Way too many faces in the crowd, but I think that I see you. One too many drinks got me changing up the way that I need you. Now we're both at a bar, acting like it's not hard, trying to feel something different. Talk to somebody new, kinda wish it was you, kinda numb to the feeling. Now that you're gone, they say time should heal, but it's been too long. Couple months and I can't seem to move on. I can't seem to move on. I can't seem to. I can't seem to. Not that you're gone, I can't seem to. I can't seem to. Laying on my floor, thinking about all the things that we've been through. From 24/7 to pretending like I never met you. No, it's all for the best, cause I know we're a mess every time we're together. Going out of my mind, and I wish I could lie, tell you that it gets better. Now that you're gone, they say time should heal, but it's been too long. Couple months where I can't.
St. Ambrose playing some squeaky clean Overwatch so far in their Week 2 NECC matchup. And Doan University, they got one more chance to show us what they have cooking. And, you know, I think they've hit a couple of roadblocks here and there. They've done some role swaps. You can really tell that the gears are turning. They're trying to figure out what is the best answer for them. And Jesse, we were wondering if we would get any new content today. Most of us thought it would be the heroes, but in fact, it will be the new reworked Watchpoint Gibraltar for map number 3.
Yeah, so a slight rework in trying to, I think they were trying to make the defense less oppressive was something that I saw. I don't know if it had the effect. I'm just going to be honest. Some of the changes are a little odd. It does allow you to get high ground easier, but it's also a very easy chokehold for the defense to hold on some of these narrow bridges. But we'll get into it once we get into the map. It's actually the Sigma that gets banned from Doan. So maybe trying to block out the potential for poke, trying to force the opposition into a full dive. On the other side, it will be the Kiriko that is taken away. And we do have a new hero sighting potentially. I'm not going to say it too much because they are on attack. So,
Well, there is one on
regardless,
defense.
Lark has brought out the Emery.
Heck yeah, Lark! Want to make a debut appearance for one of our newest DPSers. And I was kind of, this is, of all the heroes, not the one I think we expected. Did get a little fall-off range buff today, actually. So I think he might be a bit more playable on parts of this map. But I am curious, because that's kind of been the venture guy for St. Ambrose thus far. And hit scan, pretty far opposite of that.
Yeah, just a little bit opposite of what it would normally be. And yeah, boo, we wanted the cat. So we at least got one new hero in this one. Yeah, first official game here on the NECC broadcast with the new one. And Lark already trying to chuck some nades down there, putting some pressure down early.
Yeah, it's pretty much all you do with Emery. You have this massive damage out, but like even there, the nade, look how low that left all of those players. That was a 3-man nade chucked in by Swaggy Fish that Lark just exploded everybody with. And those are the kind of combos you want to be setting up with Emery. You fight great in those narrow chokeways if you can find them, which Gibraltar can be hard to do that with.
Yeah, St. Ambrose are pretty much treating this like poke, just with Cranky kind of being the one that can either counter dive or finish off some members from Doan on the point, because you got these bio nades thrown in from Swaggy Fish. Obviously, the Emery and Tor both having a lot of poke, but first pick, at least in this fun, goes to Doan.
Yeah, but it is immediately traded out for Creeper Sweeper. Couldn't quite get out of the way of Cranky Guy in time once the blue Adam. So both teams even. Does favor Doan a little bit more. Until that happens, they will still have a player disadvantage once Batman returns to the fight. And Cranky Guy staying on the low ground for just a tad bit too long there. Well, almost too long. Just got enough healing from Dumpster Baby and Swaggy Fish. So they're going to go ahead and chill. Bra jumps up again. Instantly naded, and he's back down.
Yeah, it's like kind of just like, oh, I go up and I go down, trying to see if I can find an opening pick or force St. Ambrose to drop. Eventually, that will go through. Lark kinds of get left behind, barely saved, but Cranky now can go.
Yeah, got a nano, but that's actually too much. Actually collides with Creeper Sweeper. I'm not entirely sure if that's intentional or he just hit a 180 and happened to find the Echo midway. But Brock getting a significant amount of value out of the Diva. That's both supports actually dealt with. Uses the self-destruct to get a remake and a chunk of damage out of Cranky Guy. So he's going to go ahead and leave. This payload's been getting around pretty fast. Doan putting good priority into that, and it gives them a very high likelihood of closing out this fight here. Mule especially getting the pick onto Vavman. It's difficult for St. Ambrose to get set up. Once they lost their footing, and Mule wants to kind of keep that pushing. Get these couple extra meters. That's 2, slice in half. Looking for a third triple kill now for the Genji. That's exactly what we want to see out of Doan University. And it seems like they are right back in the series.
Yeah, Doan shows some life here on Watchpoint. This is a little bit of the new. You can see Genji was just walking up to high ground. No need to have some sort of movement ability or go all the way to that right side stairwell. You can just walk on up. This ship now is a little bit diagonal, creates some interesting angles if you want to shoot out of the ship. But Lark very early ult.
Yeah, not really finding all of that much. It's just kind of poke, and it's difficult to weave around the defense matrix. I was going to say, if you can manage to live, I'd call that a win, but he doesn't do that. So, we'll say it's 50-50 for the time being, because that is what it is. Doan being down Sparrow main, though, bagged Rager chunk of healing. You kind of wanted that nano boost to keep the push going on the high ground, especially with Dumpster Baby popping the rally. This is a good sign for the Tigers to pull even just a soft retreat so they can get everybody back in, but they are unable to keep Creeper Sweeper on his feet, and Doan will end up taking a much harder reset.
Yeah, a little bit of a harsher one than they would have hoped. And Cart does at least make a decent amount of ground. 56 meters so far for the Tigers, pretty much underneath this bridge already. So need one full fight, maybe a contest to get it through this second phase. So very doable considering the time bank remaining, and only, still 3 ultimates on the board, including the nano.
Yep, straight on to Bra. This is what Doan wanted to do last fight, and I'll actually be exchanged nano for nano there. The duplicate now for Creeper Sweeper, so we got 3 Divas on the battlefield. If you're having trouble keeping track in the kill feed, so that's still a bit bugged. It is Cranky Guy who has been doing most of the work for St. Ambrose on the defensive end, but even denies the remake onto Bra, which is very much needed at that point in time, especially with how much St. Ambrose are hurting. In fact, it might be too much. Mule has been having a fantastic showing on this Genji so far. That's another 3 final blows picked up for him, and that's pretty much the only reason Doan will be marching this payload onto the 3rd point in scrappy fashion.
Yeah, the Genji didn't necessarily work out last map on Atlas, but so far, Mule definitely turning it up here on Watchpoint. Over 3 minutes remaining for the Tigers going to this final phase. You can see again some of those additions. The bridge above is broke. A little bit of a walkway up to that back high ground. So trying to make it a little bit easier here for attackers to gain that high ground in some of these long-range duels. And already, Dumpster Baby kind of chilling up here, trying to protect Swaggy Fish from a dive.
But you already lose out on Lark. Bra actually going for the focused primary fire as his 2nd perk, and it's so much burst damage if you end up in the wrong place at the wrong time. St. Ambrose struggling to fade off against it. Bra getting so much healing from the back, and the nade coming in from both Anas, as a matter of fact. It gets significant value, but only for the attackers. In that sense, Bra keeping this payload moving with the rest of his team, forces the self-destruct out of Cranky Guy, who cannot get the remake whatsoever. We're on the final couple of meters. Batman, all he can do is plop down some lava. He's like, okay, guys, stay out of the way of that, but there's nobody to touch the payload. Mule scares them back into the spawn. Jesse, judging by first 2 maps, I gotta say, this is not what I expected to see from Doan, at least in this capacity.
No, it was looking a little rough for Doan after those first 2 maps. It felt like St. Ambrose were just in that sweet spot, and they really weren't making that many mistakes. But now Doan able to capitalize here on their second attempt of a map pick, a fantastic time bank. And look at that, Broad 19-8-1, Mule 12-0-2. If you're gonna point to Hayes, if something was going right, that was it. Eventually, the tank swap, which yes, Bra actually goes back over to tank, Midori back over to the support after the role swap last map. And you can tell why they tried to run the dive on Lijiang Tower, because when it works, it's been working extremely well.
Yeah, but part of the issue, though, is I think Bra just seems so much more comfortable on this D.Va. Or maybe not even Bra specifically, but Doan playing around Bra on the D.Va looks really, really good. You can't really do that into a Zarya. This is one of the few maps there that you can play as D.Va, but not Zarya. So, Doan definitely taking advantage of that specific fact. Mule has had some fantastic follow-up on these dives, or even when Bra just sends it and takes all the attention for himself, so the DPS can help clean that up. So we look now towards the defense for Doan. Is that a Bastion I see on my screen?
That is indeed a Bastion. That'll be chilling up on the high ground. I feel like, yep, oh, they know now. As TP over to high ground, both supports left alone, and Lark, a little greedy much, I think.
Did he just grapple and like
I think so.
Rainbow arch in front of the Bastion? That was gutsy. I've never seen it. Did not work out. So he's gonna go back and swap back over to that Sojourn. Much more consistent damage output and slight bit of escape from a dive should that happen. But now in much more of a poke comp than that fast-paced dive as what they were previously.
Yeah, trying to take a pretty similar approach to what St. Ambrose had during their defense. And just kind of letting Mule do a lot of that pop damage. Same thing with Creeper Sweeper, but already having a great effect. Cranky just completely burned on high ground, and that ends the fight right there.
Yeah, it's difficult for Cranky, I think, to approach this high ground. I mean, there's just not many players who can easily get up there with him unless they are physically escorted to the objective, and it's hard with how rangy Creeper Sweeper and Mule are. So turning the focus over to the payload is making a lot more sense.
And you can see just the D.Va's kind of battling it out on point, hoping their supports can keep up with all the damage coming in. But because of that, Swaggyfish almost has the nano to throw on the Cranky guy to maybe open up some of this high ground.
The nano's been built incredibly fast, especially by Swaggyfish
Real
here.
fast.
When he's had the opportunity to do so. And it would make sure Cranky guy just doesn't explode, doesn't have to stay on the map first.
No!
But no! Wait, Swaggyfish is alive? No,
There he
Bra
goes.
eventually does get it through, just slid on the rocks a little bit. Cranky guy, though, still ended up getting the nano, so traded it out 1 for 1, both of which being supports. And the rest of St. Ambrose just kind of corralled in that mega pack area. And they're in a bit of a sandwich. I see Bra positioning behind them, trying to prevent any escape, but it's perhaps him that needs the extra assistance. Doesn't have the self-destruct online yet to get the extra mech back. So Doan essentially down to tank as this next fight approaches.
Yeah, down a tank, self-destruct available for Cranky guy if they want to go deep and have some sort of escape.
Oh.
But what a beautiful nade coming in there from Swaggy, and that'll seal off point A here for St. Ambrose. A little bit of a rocky start, but eventually able to put it all together. 4 minutes going into the second phase, and because of how late that fight took place, have a lot of time to gain some ship control before this cart gets moving too much. This Reaper, you would think, not great, but honestly, going in with some of these dives with Crankville almost acting as an agent of distraction.
Oh, but again, these nades from these Onyx going
Nades,
back
man.
and forth have been fantastic. That was one from Sparrow Main there. Actually results in the end of Dumpster Baby and cancels out the rally, as a matter of fact. So if St. Ambrose want to keep fighting in small rooms, that's where Vavman's going to get the most value. Doan, not too fond of that. Shockingly, they managed their way through really just because of that nade that we saw from their support, and will regain control of that high ground.
Yeah, it's just a game, or at least a round of the Bionades, making a massive difference in these fights from Sparrowmain and Swaggy, which Sparrowmain does have the nano now, probably, again, going on to Bra, allow them to really fully commit to a fight, build up the rest of that self-destruct, but already, nice little rotation over, everybody makes it across.
Artillery strike being called in, and if everyone's all caught
Hey!
disaster could have struck, but at least everyone with a sliver of health, Bra and Midori getting in there to see how they can shake things up. Self-destruct, just basically at
That's-
Swaggyfish's head, nowhere he can run. And yeah, that is a complete team wipe now in favor of Tone.
Well, that was a little rude, don't we think? First, we artillery strike them in the small room. Then a self-destruct in the small room. Yeah, there was no getting out of that for the Fighting Bees. That was a lose-lose situation. But the only win is, yeah, you actually get out 2 ultimates from Don't. So now you can go in without a worry of either.
Well, actually, the nanos from both teams, and it's onto a bastion from the side. And with Bra being in the backline, St. Ambrose, they didn't know where to look. The Tigers did a great job of dividing the Fighting Bees' intention entirely. This defense has been so fun to watch from the Tigers.
Do the map changes make it a little easier for the attack? Yes. Attack favored? No. And I think that's what St. Ambrose are learning right now. Still very much a defensive-sided map, and Don't taking full advantage of it so far. Still Nano with the Death Blossom, but the Death Blossom is going to struggle to get anything done due to the defense matrix of Bra. And it's going to be, can they find some sort of opener? It's been Don't these last few fights.
And Don't approaching this as if it were a dry fight. They will have some as it goes on longer, but Nano actually onto Dumpster Baby of all the players. A little raid boss action, but because he gets so aggressive, he's not there to bodyguard Swaggy Fish anymore. Cranky guy's like, don't mind if do.
Okay.
Trades it out, but there we go. That's the play that St. Ambrose wanted. The Death Blossom into the backline. How did Fatfan even die to that? I'm sure that's what exactly he's thinking right now, because Bra is still alive, still kicking, and this Diva is unkillable.
Trying to peek, trying to get some pop shots on the Diva before the mech goes off and maybe plays with fate a little too long. And a fight that it felt like it was finally going to be the one here for St. Ambrose is not. And now one fight away before potentially Don't starting this reverse sweep. They got plenty of resources here as well. It's going to be a tough order, but that's a great start.
There you go. Just go ahead and eat up that bowl of shots to kick this off. Another artillery strike in a small room, but Cranky Eye, again, defense matrix, he's kind of chilling. Well, that's unfortunate. I would love to see what's going on. We're getting like a dual screen going on in our Philippines to take a BCT Americas. Well, that's cool. This is still a lot cooler. We gotta hide from the tactical nuke. No one dies to that one in particular. And Bra is sending it to this high ground creeper sweeper, yet to be fully dislodged from his perch. 10 seconds left to go, and St. Ambrose running out of options. Needs to get to the point. Cranky Guy gonna send it, guarantee an overtime, but it's going to cost him his mech. Reinforcements pouring in, Lorg soon to have an overclock, but you gotta fight through a nano draw in order to even think about getting that off first. It is all the Tigers in the kill feed, and it appears that Doan University is not down and out yet. They'll take Gibraltar and make this series score 2-1.
2-1, and hey, the Tigers loving the dive. And I just read a 40 kill streak for Bra to end that map, by the way. That is ridiculous from the Diva of Doan. You can tell why they've been wanting to run the dive, why they tried to do it over on Lijiang Tower. Knew they couldn't because the Zarya was in play, and it would have shredded the Diva to pieces. But here on Watch Point, it is just perfection from the Tigers. They avoid a sweep, but now, yes, that map power and that first ban goes over to the other side of St. Ambrose. I got a hunch we only got, what, push and escort left. So escort, yeah, you could see some dive. If it's push, it's going to be really hard to find any sort of dive. Unless you maybe go Esperanza and find some good bans.
Well, we do have hybrid. So I'm guessing
that's right.
where it's gonna be. Is it just like a King's Row? Slam it in and then
Probably.
ban the Diva? Like that feels like what's gonna happen. Do you really need to ban the Diva if you're so confident you'll play Zarya? Because it can't be banned. The Tigers already did that back on match number 2 of Atlas.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have to fight into it one way or another. And I have a feeling for St. Ambrose, that's where they have looked the best or the most confident. I think you keep going along that route, especially because of how good it would defend against the one thing that Bra especially has looked the best on alongside of the rest of the Tigers.
I wonder if you just ban the Lucio. You take away the speed from St. Ambrose. They've obviously, for Doan, more comfortable running the Ana in with the Brig, and obviously the BAP with the carry earlier. I wonder if they just want to go more of that, like maybe traditional double flex support, or just a different main support to go with the Zarya instead, and at least take away that pace that made St. Ambrose so oppressive during those first two maps was how quickly they were going at some of these fights. But obviously, we'll see if they actually do King's Row. I won't lie, we started off with Lee Zhang. He's like, oh, we're going back to the collegiate regulars. And then we've been taking a little bit of a detour the next two maps. So I wonder if we get a return to form or we keep going down kind of this unpaven path.
I mean, not that we're going to complain about a detour.
No,
ever.
we're not complaining about it at all. It's just odd.
It is. It's definitely a new shakeup. I feel like Gibraltar kind of. We can consider that a collegiate map because it's just kind of one of those very few maps that you're gonna play dive and only dive. So you pick it for that reason. But other than that, like the King's Row, what's another one? Rutasapi. I feel like we get that one a lot in this day and age. It can kind of depend with our push maps in particular. So not a ton of options, but no matter what St. Ambrose do, I feel like they're going to give themselves an advantage unless there is some ace up the sleeve that we are yet to see from Doan.
Yeah, it's going to have to be something crazy from Doan, at least in terms of a rush mirror, for them to kind of close that gap. If they can somehow force a dive on map 4, then hey, I think they do actually have a really good shot of forcing a map 5, because the dive they have looked a lot better than St. Ambrose. It's just, right now, there's not as many dive maps necessarily available. I'd say you can run rush more than you can the dive. So, and you would think St. Ambrose aren't going to play into the strengths of their opposition, unless it's an ego chow. Like, hey, we feel like we can get this better on the second go-around. But I would have feeling their coach would probably shut that down pretty quickly. You would think. But still, teams trying to debate, actually, a long debate here from St. Ambrose on what the next call is going to be. And obviously, we talked about a little bit, bruh. My goodness. Like, what a performance on the Diva from them here in map 3.
The whole time that I was thinking about that, it's like, his name just, brah! Like, every time he goes in, that's all he's, exactly, that's all he does every time it's boosters on the Diva. And that was, he had one death, I think, that whole map or something. Maybe two, like one on the defense, one on the attack. And pretty crazy, just from any tank player or any player in general to have something to that degree. But it is showing that, you know, the Tigers, they did win their Division 4 conference. They were able to move up. They've had a lot of improvements over the past year, but it's been a bit of a challenge in this series in particular for them. And I do wonder how much that caught St. Ambrose off guard. They might just not be much of a dive team. It's not a composition they have attempted at all so far today. But also, you were kind of crushing the Tigers a little bit coming into that
just
map.
A little.
So you see them come back to that degree of performance, and you're like, okay, we need to really lock in for our next map pick, because you do not want to end up in a map 5 if you do not have to.
No, you don't want them allowed to build that much momentum, right? You win map 3, cool, you're still in the series. You win map 4, like, hey, reverse sweep is on the cards, get the brooms ready for map 5. So you don't want to allow Doan to kind of continue building the little bit of momentum that they have so far from Watchpoint Gibraltar. And I will say, yeah, they're taking their sweet time. This is almost like as long as the pause with the server issues that we had earlier with St. Ambrose, which, yeah, apparently it was a game-wide issue, but we do finally have the map. It is one of the maps you brought up. It is going to be Esperanza, which, granted, if you're going to pick a push map, this is the one I would argue you can run dive the most. So it's a little bit of a question mark from me personally. The Wrecking Ball is very good on this map. You would think Rutasapi or even New Queens, but hey, I'm not here to judge. Maybe this is just the go-to sometimes for St. Ambrose.
Yeah, this is one of the few that I think it could be a little bit easier for the dive, but I also think you just ban either the Diva or the Wrecking Ball. So it will be the ball, and I think that is the smarter of the two options, because this tells me you're gonna play Zarya, and you don't really want to play Diva into Zarya unless you are super confident in something. I do like the Venture Bend, though, from Doan. Even though it's something they've played themselves, I think it takes a lot of power away from the Zarya bubbles and the impact that can have. We could have a Vendetta with it, but if we haven't seen it yet, I cannot imagine we're going to see it come in now. So St. Ambrose now looking to end the series here as Doan looking to keep themselves afloat in a not so divey kind of map. We don't really know what's gonna happen in short. Bra is still on the tank though. We don't have any more role swapping going on after the Atlas experiment.
Yeah, no more role swaps. Bra's like, oh, guys, we want a map with this. Let's just keep it. Do not mess with it at all. Yeah, Lark, who was on the Venture a lot, is at least for now teasing the Vendetta, but with no Zarya to match. Krake's actually teasing the return of the Junker Queen that brought them the win over on Atlas. So yes, returning to a comp and a hero that won them the game, a map earlier, but not necessarily the one that we were expecting to see. And on the other side, Doan, it's an interesting comp. Dive-ish, but again, kind of with some poke elements with the Bastion and the Cassidy. The Bastion could honestly give Craigie guys some issues if they're not dragged into the fight with one of these Jagged Blades.
St. Ambrose, they need to close the gap. Because Doan, their composition does so much better if they can play far away. Broad just needs to be an appropriate amount of punching bag for the rest of the team to kind of zone off Cranky guys. He said it's going to be so hard for him to approach either Creeper Sweeper or even just Sparrow Madonna on this Junker Queen pick. Another knife. He's been landing these like crazy. Could have ended poorly, but Mule did manage to get around the wall in time. I think the one thing that Doan are going to struggle with is when they have to contest the point, or if your Ana just goes too close to a Junker Queen, and Cranky guy will hit those knives. Do not test him, as we just saw. And yeah, all right. And St. Ambrose picking right where they left off with more of these brawl-style takes.
Yeah, the brawl is still strong with St. Ambrose. Yeah, a little bit of a slower cooldown to get that fight going, but all they were waiting for is for one blade to hit, pull in a squishy, and it is arguably the best one you could have grabbed with Sparrow Main. So much heals gone, and the Tigers fall from there. And because the card actually started moving plenty before that, Tick is almost achieved and will be here in less than 2 minutes. A massive advantage for St. Ambrose during the rest of this map, and they will continue now to build on it here in the second phase.
Like, I'm not gonna hit the panic button yet. I think this is a map that you can turn decently well. But you need to start getting your foot in there soon if you are Doan. Suzu was already out just from seeing Lark jump up to the high ground there. Good anti-nade. Ending in, yes, they do actually end up finishing him off 1-for-1 though in the back. That pick onto Swaggy Fish, much more important. Bra, if he can get in there and find the space on this Diva, he's gonna get some work done. And in that, I mean a triple kill.
Oh, so yeah, Bra's Diva has been unreal. It's just, yeah, a lot of today it's been countered out with a Zarya on the other side, but you can tell the Tigers like, oh, they're not running the Zarya? All right. We can just run the Diva still. That's completely fine. Still, obviously, a lot to come back from here, though. Another great knife, but the shield bash away from Midoriya.
You just get on out of that. Swaggy Fish, though, does have a great close gap tool. Deadeye, though, out from Mule. Neither of the supports were able to respect that. I have no idea how that Jumpster Baby got caught out so far. A fight that Ambrose Esports should have easily been able to take was completely ended because Mule was not marked properly in the backline.
Yeah, that was an interesting one there. Mule kind of holds it like, hey, I know I got a Junker Queen in my face. That's all right. Both supports are gone. Neither of those ultimates able to get propped and popped by Dumpster Baby or Swaggy Fish. And now we felt like, oh, this maybe his map is already slipping away. All of a sudden, Tick is almost here for the Tigers.
Yeah, but I mean, they still don't have Swaggy Fish. Like, Broad just can't be getting away with that. Yes, this time he does kind of just int by himself and has to use his self-destruct. But for that kind of pick, you take it. And his forward spawns gained. And an Ajax! Dumpster Baby loses the Self-Mirror. What can't Broad do at this point? He is putting the team in his backpack. Really, it's Doan saying, all right, Broad, go in. We'll try to survive the dive. You get the work done.
Yeah, Bra is just popping off. Like, the second half of this series, it feels like it's been a different player for Doan, and one of the big reasons they're still in this, they will get lead here with just over 6 minutes to go, but now already the Kitsune rush to find an answer.
Yeah, there goes Creeper Sweeper. Little that you can do as a low mobility Bastion to get out of the way of that. So if the rest of Doan can get out, I'd say that's pretty best case scenario, especially since your Bastion will get forward spawns and you can regroup over by the bridge.
Yeah, you already gained forward spawn. You don't need to be greedy with it, so gives it back over to St. Ambrose for them to try and build this lead back. Both ultimates here for St. Ambrose DPS ready to go, and both support ultimates for Doan ready to answer. Could be a little bit of counter watch.
That's one way to put it. But yeah, it will be the nano again onto Bra. Not much value to be gained out of the back line, but Bathman immediately stunned out of his own Death Blossom. Fantastic counterplay from Midorian, the support ult that you were talking about. The Doan Tigers were able to get so much value out of.
Now you're trying to get Swaggy Fish and Dumpster Baby out. Swaggy Fish will not be able to say that for him. Dumpster Baby with the speed is able to get out, but Swaggy does get far spawn. So yes, you have the Swift Step to get a little closer, but still it'll force St. Ambrose to play this a little bit slower, and this bot will regain the forward spawns here for the Tigers.
Moving on ahead and extending that lead just a tad bit further. Doesn't want to last long. It doesn't have to. Another nade to start it off, but
big.
Lark, that's two sliced in half, and he's going to keep looking for more, but Bra's still alive, basically full health, so he'll have to opt to turn and see if there's anything he can do to stop the Diva, and the answer is no. Not really, so even more progress gained, and that seems to be the trigger for Cranky Guy to go to the Zarya.
He's like, all right, you've had enough fun in the Diva. Hard counter returns for St. Ambrose, and honestly, I'm kind of shocked it took this long. I understand you want to ride the hot hand, but at some point, something's got to give, and you got to play against it. Deadeye early, trying to make some space, doesn't find much. Oh, a Cranky, what?
That shouldn't have happened. I'm sorry, this is a Diva playing into a Zarya. How is he getting run over? I mean, honestly, I think a large part of that was Creeper Sweeper. The Zara, just gets melted if he stays there, and I don't think the bubbles were enough, Jesse.
Yeah, the bubble's not enough. All of a sudden, we go from a 66-meter lead from St. Ambrose within 90 seconds to that lead now for Doan with 340 left. And now, yeah, Bra's not done.
Screw the time bank, Jesse. That's what Doan is saying. We want to finish the map right now. That's another nano onto Bra, looking for the Kiriko. Just a few damage shots short. Does go for the reback and pancakes on the back. Man, that is tragic. Way to go for St. Ambrose's Reaper player. Still looking for a bit more in the back line, but the sound barrier from Dumpster Baby makes it hard, but Cranky Guy's health bar simply evaporates. He just lost 300 health in the span of half a second. St. Ambrose, no stable points to stand on the objective. Don't they want to take us to map 5 here and now, and if this is the pace you're going to set, you take out Dumpster Baby. That is exactly the path we are looking at. Bra is a monster on this Diva, and he is showing Doan that, hey, if we can play this, it's good. St. Ambrose, you should abandon it because you're finding yourselves in a map 5.
Unreal here from Doan. After Flashpoint, they looked down and out. It looked like a St. Ambrose sweep. And all of a sudden, we are now going to map 5 here in Division 3. Doan completely flip around this map, completely flip around the series, even though Cranky had some great plays once again here on the Junker Queen. It was not enough, and it just somehow Doan do not know how to quit, and they just keep fighting back, keep finding answers to this pretty hard attack from St. Ambrose. The pace they play at typically is so quick, you have to make a lot of split-second decisions, and the Tigers are starting to make them. They're starting to find those few little countermeasures, and it's leaving the Fight ABs a little bit, questioning themselves of how they want to move forward, because they go from, hey, maybe a little bit of a quick 3-0 to now fighting for their life here in map 5.
This is the most one-sided series I've seen, and I mean this. It's either one-sided for one team or the other.
This is so
I don't think there's been a single point that I can say this game has been close, and we're at 2-2. So take that as you will. It's been either the Tigers can manage a way to pull all these fights vastly in their favor, or they're getting steamrolled, and there is absolutely no in between. And you said it, Jesse. The momentum, you really didn't want the Tigers to have that behind them if you're St. Ambrose and go push them to a map 5, yet you are here, and now you have to deal with it. I think the one thing they still have going for them is you still have a Diva ban you can use.
Yes, you still have the Diva ban available, which, yeah, they're going to need it, and they're going to need it very harshly, because it is going to be hybrid for our last pick. Usually it's a map 2, right? Like, it's usually a very early map pick in this series, but instead it's going to be our final map of the night, which, you know, the bing, bing, bing idea would be Kings Row. We've been saying it all night, but they won't pick it. So maybe like, hey, you just run it down. The only worry is, obviously, we saw it early. Doan are open to playing the Mei. It is one of her best maps. So it's a lot of very close corridors and very closed-in choke points. So even if they can't run the D.Va, maybe they run the Mei to continue bringing some issues here to the front line of St. Ambrose. But yeah, I won't lie. Like, you and I talked after the break, after map 2, we're like, yeah, this is a little rough right now. It's looking a little one-sided, and now it's completely flipped on its head.
Yeah, I cannot believe how wrong we were. I was literally
so
thinking
wrong.
that as that map ended, I'm like, did we just like reverse caster curse this? Like, what just happened? So we're not gonna complain. We're here for some good Overwatch, and if that means going to a game 5, totally here for it. I'm gonna kick this back in. Kings Row, I honestly am starting to think of that more as a risk. Even if you ban the D.Va, I feel like the Bastion pick has been working out really well.
Very
Yule
true.
has really stepped it up since the start of the series too, and Mei Bastion together, that's going to pretty much any brawl tank not have a fantastic time if you can't directly match that heroes, which we haven't really seen from St. Ambrose thus far. Could they have it? Sure, but I think without a doubt, whatever you do, you cannot allow to play Brawl to play this D.Va,
No.
like, ever.
No.
You can't do that.
Just take it away. Like, I understand the ball ban last map. It's a phenomenal ball map, and we saw Brawl play it earlier and actually play it pretty well. So I totally understand why the ball ban came into play. But yeah, it leaves that open now. Hey, you can still ban the D.Va. You have to. We do have the map and the bans ready to go here. Is our, I don't want to say a plead, but our pretty heavy guess of Kings Row the correct one? We'll find out here in just a moment. But yeah, what a series this has turned into for week 2. And drum roll.
Ooh.
No, I
D.Va.
don't agree with this, Molly. I'm going to be very honest. Oh no. Oh no.
St. Amber's got to have something. I mean, it's got to be something, and there
please have
better be
something
a
in
D.Va
mind.
on my screen when we look at these bans. Okay, we did that. We're good. That makes sense. Taking away the Lucio as well is
Great
also
call.
good. I think they've relied on that. I think Dumpster Baby has had a lot more luck on that than any other time he hasn't. Granted, only once he was not allowed to play it. So, good choices all around in terms of the bans. Don't still have Wrecking Ball if they really want to. But I also just don't think St. Ambrose want to play Dive here at all.
No, I have a feeling they're going to try and force the poke. If I had to guess, something that they tried to run on Watchpoint and just didn't work out because of the fact that Brawl was on D.Va. So maybe like, hey, maybe with the D.Va gone, the poke can get a little bit more value. I do think there's a chance we see Domina here. I have seen Domina played here a little bit in OWCS Bootcamp, which obviously is going on this week. It's been very interesting to see the pros test out a lot of these new heroes. Makes me realize why I'm in Plat. Just looking at all the scrims, my goodness. Yeah, you're at least Diamond and Masters. I can't, can't crash on you too much. But
Okay.
yeah, it's been a little crazy to see them play as new heroes. Yeah, maybe the Domina. We've seen a little bit of Emery. Granted, that was when St. Ambrose were kind of getting rolled. So I have a feeling they may not want to elect that again.
All right, well, no D.Va, though, for Zone. You've gotten yourselves this far. You have the momentum. You've shown that St. Ambrose can bleed. We're getting a new hero, because why not, Jesse? A Hazard will be the choice now. For Brawl, I think it plays similar to D.Va in a couple of ways, but I actually want to highlight the support line here. Sparrow Main and Midori have looked infinitely more comfortable when they get to play this on a break.
Oh, they've looked fantastic. You can tell the synergy is there. Midori knowing, hey, I need to go help my other support, help my flex support live during some of these fights. Same thing from Sparrow Main. Those two have done a phenomenal job. St. Ambrose going back to what worked with the Zarya, but obviously no Lucio to get by. So just some additional poke here from Dumpster Baby on the wheel.
Yeah, so still that slower composition that Doan have liked playing so far. But it actually is system of point pressure. St. Ambrose, I believe, sent Vavman forwards. Yeah.
Yep.
To kind of stick a toe on the objective, see who we can force back. And actually, Sparrowmate in a very defensive position, kind of just vibing back there. He's like, hey, team, can you come investigate this? And Spio's like, yeah, sure, what's going on? Goodbye, Vavman. Return to center. So St. Ambrose still going to move towards the point. They do have a tick, potentially two. If don't get on the objective, which they're not. Please tell me somebody touches the point. Please touch the point. Please touch the point. Okay, Brock, cutting a little close, buddy. But he'll get there eventually. Granted, he doesn't have a lot of health to work with. Cranky Guy is still alive and kicking. It's really just on to Mule now to eventually stride through the Zarya, which as Cranky Guy falls, it was close. I don't think Xenogar should have gotten that close, but at least don't get to hold on.
Yeah, no, that was a little close. You can tell, like, oh, you're trying to get some of the people off playing off point. I get it. It's like, oh, this is almost a C9. I didn't want to say the words until, you know, it maybe happened. But, yeah, definitely an awkward fight. I don't think you're going to be too mad if you're St. Ambrose. You get 2 ticks practically for free on a lost fight. The only downside is now Mule has the Deadeye to kind of push this next push away.
Yeah, and I don't think St. Ambrose would fully track that. That is a very fast Deadeye build. And Vavman is dead yet again. He's been having such a hard time playing this Brig Reaper Bastion. So many players chunked low by Mule. Look at this flank that he's going on. Him and Midori holding hands, running it down, and Creeper Sweeper being the sweeper in that sense.
Yeah, just sweeping everyone under the rug. Like, hey, next fight, let's go. You know, half the time gone for St. Ambrose, but now some of those ultimates coming online. I won't lie, this Reaper is a little rough so far from Vavman. It's not even, I would say, his fault. It's just, it's so hard for him to close the gap, and when he does, oh, you get hindered by a flash. Oh, you get slapped by a Sparrowmate. It's like, it's just one thing after another, just denying the Reaper any sort of space.
Well, it is easier for Reaper to play in a Kitsune Rush or just shoot at a grab, where it's harder for your opponents to shoot back. Craig Guy keeping up with his fast grab building charge rates on even map number 5. So eventually that will get St. Ambrose over the line. Now, they're going to see how much space they can take on this point, Jesse, with about 4 minutes on the clock.
Yeah, and I think, honestly, a pretty decent margin so far. Trying to look maybe for a stagger here on the Bra, but they have plenty of support to get them out of harm's way. And you can tell St. Ambrose, okay, we can just take these very quick fights. Yeah, some of them aren't going to work in our favor, but as long as they're quick and we can go at another fight shortly after, it's not the end of the world, but losing Lark with overclock and could end this fight.
Yeah, that's not ideal, for sure. And even committing the downpour, not entirely sure if you needed it. In fact, that's not by Kiriko and Ito. It's Bra, why aren't you still here face taking 3 people? Bad for worse for the Dome Tigers. They're going to back it up and just hope that they can get a full regroup before St. Ambrose get too much ground.
I thought there was a chance Bra would swap after that, considering, hey, Downpour didn't really get much, but they will continue on the hazard for the time being. Nade goes in, and already Dumpster down.
Yeah, Dumpster Baby, it's a little sad to not be on Lucio for the map so far. And it is Bra, though. That is the trade-off for that. You 100% take that if you are St. Ambrose, but I mean, we can still just continue to see the struggles that have been this Reaper, the Bastion, all of that has made it difficult for Vavman. Still has not been able to build up to a Death Blossom yet. So St. Ambrose have been essentially playing a 4v5 in that regard.
Yeah, no, Vavman is finally gotten Death Blossom.
It's his time.
Hey, it is his time. It took, what, over 4 minutes for him to get it, but he finally has it. The worst part is, like, we're going to say all this, like, hyping it up. And how much would I bet he gets slept?
It's gonna
like,
get
how much?
slept.
It's gonna happen. I don't want to cast reverse it, but like, oh god, I'm a little worried here.
Well, I mean, it will be the overclock first, so maybe Lark can get the sleep dart out before Vavman sets up on an angle, but I don't know. I didn't hear a sleep dart, so that's a later problem. Although Mule does get caught out on the fadeaway. There is the sleep dart, and there's the Death Blossom, and he's dead. Well, good attempt, Vavman. You gave your best shot. The good news is Cranky Guy has a lot of charge because of that, and he's on the high ground. So you did your team a service by just being a bubble battery for your Zarya. Point will be capped yet again for St. Ambrose. About 3 minutes left to go.
I feel so bad. It's like, oh, guys, like sleeps out. Just absolutely deleted. But like you said, hey, the sacrifice was not in vain. A lot of charge there for Cranky Guy, able to finish off some eliminations, and now almost has the grab to continue the snowball here, entering third phase. 2.5 minutes remaining. They got both support ultimates as well. That could be trouble here for Dome.
Yeah, St. Ambrose too. If they could fan that to fan over the span of 2 fights, that'd be fantastic for them. But Bra, I think, does force the title blast a little bit earlier than you wanted. Just losing an nano to Bra in the backline. But Cranky Guy, Vavman, they're getting work done. They had Kitsune Rush to work with, and a fantastic shot from Lark, making sure that these stackers will happen. So Don't, this will be a rather difficult final contest.
Yeah, it's going to have to be quick. Yes, you're going to have the downpour to maybe catch a support or 2 off, but you also gotta have to worry about the cleanse that will eventually come out here from Swaggy Fish, and it's this grab. Obviously, no big support ultimate to counter.
Now there's the downpour, but Suzu, Wraithfor, and Bubbles. Yeah, that's how you need it to grab. On the other hand, you press a button, you throw it at a wall, and it grabs onto 2 that actually only managed to get Creeper Sweeper for the time being. Down on their last leg of their own defense, and that leg too shall break. Courtesy of Cranky Guy gets a nice cheeky 4-piece at the end. With 1:26 to go, St. Ambrose seem to have found their mojo yet again back on the Zarya comp.
Yeah, when in doubt, just pop the bubbles and let the rest of your team do the work. And yes, St. Ambrose, great time bank going into OT. Mule leading the way so far, at least for Doan. Actually, lobby-wide, even though on the losing side right now, 16 to 2 and 4. Look how even that is. 10, 15, 13, 12, 9. Poor Valve is actually last in eliminations on his team
and
with
lowest
9.
in damage.
And lowest in
Poor
damage.
guy. Poor guy.
That's when you know
he's doing a great service, though.
the counter watch is strong in this game, I will say, against the Reaper. But again, it's enough of a distraction. It's enough of charge for Cranky Guy to build in a lot of it. It's usually the other way around, right? You pop the bubble onto your DPS so they can go and get those eliminations. This time around, it's just go in, you might die, but I'm going to get the charge. We need to win the fight, so it's okay.
Don't worry.
It is nice. They all know their place, and even if it's not so enjoyable for Vavman, it works. They've really figured out an answer to Doan's comp, and I was kind of worried with how Creeper Sweeper was just kind of mowing people down earlier on, and same with goes with Mule, but it seems that Doan, they want to switch some stuff up, at least in terms of the Ramatra, and Mule back over, back over to the Genji. Will actually be a Jetpack Cat. I was waiting until the doors opened, but it seems we're going to see it after all.
Yeah, you already see it. Lifeline just dragging Bra around. They're just going to try and send them over to point. What in the world is happening right now? They get natural high ground, but the issue is, can the rest of your team cross?
Well, St. Ambrose entirely backed up once they saw the tank being brought to the high ground. So a great play from Sparrownade just to know what space is available. And they're going to taxi him again.
Oh my god!
This time with the Nemesis form. Dubson maybe's like, yeah, I'm not sticking around to find out what happens there. St. Ambrose, they pulled a reverse rotate, but this is more when the problem is. They're like, wait, the rest of the team doesn't have a tank. We can kind of just walk at them or just turn on Bra, who is currently in the middle of our entire team. So eventually St. Ambrose, they saw through the shenanigans, but Doan definitely caught them off guard for a second. Oh!
Yeah, it almost worked.
Batman.
Sparrowmane tried to taxi Midori away, but not able to. Bra will make the change over to the Winston, back over to this traditional dive, and I have a feeling, yes, the Jetpack Cat has retired for this one. But I did like the idea of trying to gain that high ground. It's just, when you go to that back high ground, like you said, it gives St. Ambrose a 5v3 onto your squishy. It's not going to end out well both of the time.
Definitely not. Or a 1v5 onto your Winston, which will lead to safety. He's like, oh, wait, where's my defense matrix? Well, unfortunately, don't have one on that specific hero. So, don't have to be a bit more cautious with their cooldowns. I think walking when Creeper Sweeper has the Bastion form up will be helpful, but Bra is just not able to take aggressive jumps like that, especially with Batman's Reaper. That's where it's going to start getting value, as well as just Lark finding these shots. I kind of, like, I felt bad for Batman earlier. We're kind of dunking on him. Okay, I should stop speaking. But he was doing stuff there. It looked cool. It's working out now.
I'll say already having a better half than he did on the first round. Again, it wasn't even his fault, man. It's not even his fault. It's just a little bit of a comp diff initially. But hey, working out. Great damage. And honestly, it's going to force Bra to play really passive, because if you jump into the wrong spot and you get welcomed with Hellfire shotguns, it's not a very warm welcome, to say the least.
No, that's quite the opposite, in fact. I was kind of wondering if they'd use the Kitsune Rush or wait for a Nano, but considering they're locked in a grab and dead, they're just going to wait for next fight. I think that sounds safe. That was a decent expansion from St. Ambrose, and probably their Wombo combo now down. So Doan, they'll take it.
Yeah, they'll take it, but still 3 ultimates to deal with.
Yeah.
On the other side, you can still just see this Tidal Blast maybe going into Vavman, knock everybody down, then pop the Death Blossom. Overclock from Lark to force everybody away, and some changes continue for Doan. Creeper Sweeper now onto the Ventura. Full dive, which just can work if you close the gap, but Lark, this is heaven to him.
He's having a blast this game, I can tell you that much. And still's the overclock to be able to pull out here. Will be the Nano onto Raw. Was wondering if it'll be on him or Mule. But you take that. It catches Lark completely off guard. No opportunity to get a shot off, even with the overclock. So great plays so far, but losing out on the support, that's going to hurt Doan in the long run. Mule not wanting to pull the blade, sub 50 HP. Completely understandable as Vab continues to fry with his classic Reaper that we've been seeing. Don't need to reset fast. There's 23 seconds left on this clock, and if you're going to stick around like they are, you need to be able to commit. Losing Creeper Sweeper, this just gets all the much better for St. Ambrose.
Yeah, you can tell everybody trying to get out now, but it still leaves Midori in an awkward spot. Brad tries to go in to save. They get punished because of it, and Mule kind of standing with a blade, but nobody to swing at.
Nope. Look at there as Doan. They made it interesting. They got it this far. It was great, but at the end of the day, St. Ambrose realized D.Va and Bra are Thanos. We take that away, and we can once again play the game that we know. St. Ambrose, they're going to take week 2 in map 5.
My goodness, they deny the reverse sweep from Doan. I will say, can we get this in playoffs? Just run it back
Yeah.
a few months down the road. Which is what an entertaining game this one was. And yeah, that was that Wombo combo. Oh, Kitsune rushes out and Grav. Yeah, that's just, it's done. I will say, you can definitely tell what Doan's comfort pick is. It's a lot of this D.Va dive. Teams are definitely going to have to look out for it. If you don't play around it, try and use the D.Va band wisely. You're going to see what happened in map 3 and map 4, where they just pretty much rolled St. Ambrose on both of those maps. But once the D.Va was taken away, St. Ambrose settled down, and they're able to salvage this series in a 3-2.
Yes, the St. Ambrose, they got their bearings together at the end. And again, one of the most one-sided 5-map series that I have seen in a minute. So, again, shout out to our Division 3 teams for really delivering the entertaining gameplay for tonight. They really showed us all that they have. And again, being only week 2 of the semester so far, pretty exciting stuff still lies ahead for both of them.
Yeah, I can't wait to see it, both of these teams continue on past this, especially once these new heroes in the game maybe get fleshed out a little bit more. We saw a little bit of Jetpack Cat. I think the longer we kind of are in this patch, we're going to see more set plays like that. Because who would have thought, like, oh yeah, we can just run a ram to opposing high ground. The other team will have to turn around. It was just maybe a step too far in the process, maybe for Doan, maybe too many cooks in the kitchen that time, but we're going to see more plays like that throughout the rest of this season with these new heroes. But yeah, I got to say, both teams have a reason to kind of celebrate. Both teams maybe some notes going into the rest of the weekend as well. But overall, it's St. Ambrose who end up with the win.
Yeah, they'll take it for today. Now 2-0 in their season, leaving Doan University at 1-1. And that's going to do it all for us on the Division 3 side of things for tonight. We still have one more matchup coming up at 10 p.m. Eastern or 7 p.m. Pacific. Nailed it for our two teams. It will be Grand County University taking on Northern Arizona University in Division 2. So we'll see you back in about 30 minutes as we get that set up and ready to go. More NECC Overwatch still to come tonight.
weapon. I can be your weapon.
I wish we stayed the same. I got way too many thoughts in my brain. I got memories that run through my veins. I'm not one to blame, but I could point out every way that you changed. Some things stay up while others go right down the drain. And lately we've been going down in flames. But if I'm honest, I get in my feels when I want you. Say you feel it too, I'll haunt you. Hold on till I'm lost in nirvana. But if I'm honest, I get in my feels when I want you. Say you feel it too, I'll haunt you. Hold on till I'm lost in nirvana. But if I'm my therapist is saying that I should. I don't believe her, but I really wish I could. Instead, I guess I'll stay misunderstood. Oh, 'cause I'm stuck now, just trying to figure a way out. I've tried but can't seem to slow down, and I don't know if I want to. But if I'm honest, I get in my feels when I want you. Say you feel it too, I'll haunt you. Hold on till I'm lost in nirvana. But if I'm honest, I get in my feels when I want you. Say you feel it too, I'll haunt you. Hold on till I'm lost in nirvana. But if I'm I'm stuck now.
There's a world that's mine. Need a place to hide. Will you free my mind? Follow the light of a world that's blind. In your eyes I see there's a place for me. For me.
to you. You have habits just like me. Talk too much with strangers. Get way too serious around family. And I don't have any wishes, but when I kiss you, our lips fit well. And I don't have expectations, but when I daydream, I fall asleep, and our hands melt. It started out as teasing, but I had deeper meaning when I touched your chest. Now I don't know how, but if I did,
welcome back to match number 2 of our wonderful NECC Friday Night Overwatch. We have another Division 3 matchup coming our way, this time from the west half of the United States. We'll have Northern Arizona University taking on Grand Canyon University for their Week 2 matchup.
Yeah, a battle for Arizona going on tonight between NAU and GCU. And these two teams, they've played against each other in different statewide competitions before. Now just the latest chapter in that rivalry tonight. Look at the rosters here for both NAU and GCU. But it's a little bit different. GCU actually, I believe, dropping down from Division 2 into Division 3 this year after not having the greatest placement matches just a few weeks ago. NAU staying here in Division 3. So maybe GCU trying to prove themselves a little bit. Maybe like, hey, it's unfortunate we went down to D3, looking to prove that they can bounce back after a loss last week, I think earlier this week technically, got rescheduled. But a loss in Week 1, and NAU got a win in Week 1. So definitely a little bit of different ambitions going into this one.
Yeah, it's one on the climb and one looking to get back on the climb from where they once were. And I think this is honestly a good test for both these rosters. As you said, they've seen each other in several regional competitions prior to this. So it's really cool that we have that sort of budding rivalry that we don't get a ton from a lot of our collegiate schools. So when we do have it on stream, we got to make sure we pick that up. So shout out to our team to making sure we have this one on broadcast. But Jesse, map number 1. Been selected. Surprise, surprise. Lijiang Tower. Yeah. Do we get new heroes this time? Is that going to be it? Remember, 5 new heroes have been released as of this past Tuesday, along with a reworked Watchpoint Gibraltar. So we did have a Jetpack Cat appearance and a Jetpack Cat ban, plus a tiny bit of Emre in our previous series. Do we get more than that here?
Potentially. I think, especially here on Lijiang, you can maybe feel a few things out. Maga is banned out from NAU. That's not a ban I've seen in a little bit. Bastion is the return ban from GCU. So all the new heroes are open. The cards are right in front of you, GCU and NAU. Can you do it for the stream? Can you give us some new hero content here tonight? Considering, yeah, we only saw a little bit of Jetpack Cat for a little bit of a fun strat from Doan University in the last game, and then a little bit of Embry. So have yet to see, Domina as well as Anra and Mizuki as well. If I had to guess who we're going to see, most likely is Domina or Anran, but time will tell here in this one. Is going in now to Lijiang Tower. It'll be Night Market first here.
Yeah, so I am interested in this very first match. These names are flip-flops, by the way. It is NAU on the right and GCU on the left. And I was about to say, I have a bit of a memory. We casted NAU once last semester. It feels like forever ago now. And I remember Marmello in particular, very fond of the particular venture pick, should he decide to pull that one out. But I'm more interested in the new heroes that are being teased. Cartman, perhaps the first Domina of NECC, is allowing and Annoyed Green, potentially some more Jetpack Cat. But we don't get to see that yet. I'm sorry, you got baited along with us. So we're going to figure out what's going on real quick and get ourselves back in the lobby momentarily.
Yeah,
that looked
just
perfect.
like that. Snap of the fingers and magic. Sides are still swapped. So NAU is on the right, GCU left. But Jetpack Cat is here, Domina is here, and already trying to poke on through.
Yeah, that's kind of what you got to do with the Jetpack Cat. You move fast. You let Cartman get set up on the Domina for the extra bit of poke, and Marmello will hold the gates on the Reaper for that close range damage. Symmetra and Agent Alpha, he did not have a chance to step a toe anywhere he wanted, and NAU, very good winning the first fight, especially into a sim.
Especially into the sim, and you would think, the sim can usually close the gap, but this comp for NAU, they want to keep the range out a little bit further, and especially Cartman, again, has the longest beam in the game, even longer than Symmetra's, so may it be a little bit difficult here for Agent Alpha to try and close the gap if these TPs aren't coordinated well.
So GCU, your best shot at winning this is if you can move as a unit and death roll. Whereas NAU Varsity, I think they want us to play a little more split, especially with Annoyed Green on the Jetpack Cat. You're really never going to be next to your team anyway. So Cartman doing a great job so far of keeping everybody at bay. Again, longest beam in the game right now, and this barrier array is incredibly oppressive. Even with its health getting nerfed, it covers so much area. But Ramacho doesn't care about barriers, especially if there's a TP putting him in the back line. So Beasting will help take out a couple, but it's a 2-for-2. As of now, NEU Varsity still have both of their supports to be able to work with here. And Wet Noodle, though, she's going to overstep just a little bit. That's enough for Omni to punish and make GCU feel confident in coming back. Lilas lays down the amplification matrix. Beasting throws a couple more punches through the barrier. Oh, attempted catnapping, but a failed one. Thanks to Omni there. NEU Varsity, despite being down for quite some time, managed to hold on to this point a lot longer than they arguably should have. Get up to about a little over 80% before GCU take over.
Yeah, eventually the flip goes through. Nice little cancellation there from Omni onto Annoyed Green, like you said. Just completely taking away the Catnapper, which I gotta say is one of the funniest ults in the game.
I love that.
Like, it is so good. But now a little bit of a hold here for NAU. They don't have a SimTB to go straight on the point like GCU did, so we're trying to see if they can find an early pickoff.
The Kitsune rush from Wet Noodle, and then like half the kitchen sink from GCU. And I say half because they're using 2 out of their full ults, and Omni is sped into the backline. Martel didn't know it hit him there, and Cartman has a better idea of what did. Somehow, though, there are 2 traded back the other way. So GCU realized they need to back off. The only reason any of you can't push is because Cartman is not there.
Yeah, no Lucio for GCU. Yeah, especially that'll force them to back away. You know, God forbid Agent Alpha can pop the photon barrier from spawn, but they'll try and slow this fight down. Toad not giving him the option.
Yeah, Toad wants to go fast, but there's a big shield in his face, and a bigger one that his Domina gives him. And, you know, Marmello, I admire this attempt, but Reaper just has not been it as of late. That is a canceled out Death Blossom, and about to be a very laser-beamed Domina. A creative use of the ult defensively from Cartman. He's actually going to stay on his feet with Annoyed Green coming up with the Symmetra pick. So Agent Alpha can't help support the team in the front line, meaning Beasting has no other choice but to run it down, knowing it's close to final fight territory. They'll secure the pick onto Cartman and leaves the rest of NAU scrambling.
Yeah, Marmello even goes over to the Vendetta to try and get more chunk damage onto Beasting, and it just doesn't work that time around. GCU completely flipped this on its head. 90% and counting now for the Lopes to close out round 1. But NAU still have an easy touch considering Annoyed Green is on Jetpack Cat.
Yeah, they'll at least get an overtime, but not really any ults to work with. And Omni getting very close to a Deadeye, so something has to happen before that, and it is Marmello. He's in there, he's swinging a big sword, and he is turning GCU into mincemeat as Vendetta does. Such a powerful hero, even with the nerf today. I'll get NAU another shot.
Yeah, those overhead slashes are just ridiculous still, right? Like, it's so much, and I think this is just to make sure they get a touch. Yeah, they will take the Cassidy
Cat
up,
Deadeye?
oh, we could get Deadeye, Cat Deadeye.
Oh,
they dropped it.
They dropped it. Okay,
Go
there's
back.
still a touch. It's okay. Omni's here. It is time for the cat eye. Will it actually happen? Omni, not a great angle. And Blood has to get him in a good spot, but they don't touch! No! I mean, I wanted to see it work. We were rooting for you, GCU. It's a new play. It's fun, but unfortunately, the objective does need to be contested in order to make it happen. So NAU will get Night Market after all.
I'll give them this. They were in it for the content, right? Like they were completely committed to getting just a little bit of a funny play here on stream. And NAU close it out for Night Market, and now going over to the second round here. And yeah, you look at the comparison here, like Cartman, 14 eliminations, lead. You can tell why Domina's getting banned a lot in ranked right now. Part of that is people just don't want to play against the new heroes, but also just the fact that they're genuinely a good hero, especially on maps like that. This could be the 1 point on Lijiang, though, could get a little bit tricky. It's a little more closed in than the Domino would like.
But it's also closed in that well, I was going to say, hey, Vendetta likes that. Toad went back over the Sojourn. So, Marmello likes it. There we go. Problem solved. Reaper, small rooms, great time. So, the thing is, though, Agent Alpha did take over the high ground, where he would have liked to stick Toad originally. It is actually reformed too. Force from Marshmallow. The DPS, not in fantastic positions for NAU as they look to start this fight on their own terms. Doesn't seem like they'll have the opportunity to. Toad holding down ship on this little high ground, or I say high ground like you just can't walk up the stairs to it. But again, NAU Varsity are going to fall over. They got a lot of their resources forced early.
Yeah, and GCU, once they got control of point in that back high ground, we're never going to give it up. And that is the one issue with this comp for NAU, is Marmello does make the swap over to the Vendetta, which we thought we would see. It can be a little bit hard to be the team pushing in unless you find somebody out of position or force it maybe from, you know, at least some of these abilities, just like the Sonic Repulsors from the Domino.
There's great ways to buy space, but you're just slow. You don't move forwards, and especially because Annoyed Green isn't playing Lucio to match that of Ebullient there. It's not easy to get space, but you think the big shield would help that? Not quite in that circumstance. And all it does is result in a trade, but perhaps one that you can work with. Beasting running it down onto Wet Noodle, but she can easily TP out of danger and even gets a nice melee finish onto her Kiriko counterpart and Lilas there. GCU down both their supports for the time being. And Cartman happy to just dunk her down on the point, but I guess didn't expect Beasting to have Annihilation up in time, and in fact, the perfect time, because it means GCU gets to stabilize.
Yeah, maybe you didn't want to use the Annihilation there, but you make sure that that fight, which felt like it should have been a GCU win, doesn't suddenly turn for the favor of NAU. So now almost 70%. GCU in a fantastic spot. Overclock online from Omni to try and keep everybody away, and both support ultimates soon, but NAU got 3 ults of their own.
Yeah, NAU, especially, I want to see how they use the Nauticon here from Cartman. He had a great fix from it last time with Suzu coming out. That will be the opportunity, and Marmello was happy to run it down without fear of being shot at. That's a triple kill now for him, and NAU, they'll get control of the point for it.
Yeah, very expensive. Obviously, you use 2 ultimates for it. You still have catnapping, which if you do find somebody, let's say they can find Beasting, send him off the edge, it is going to be worth ultimate for a jetpack cap. But the Lopes here can play aggressive with the Sound Bearer and just push in and give Agent Alpha plenty of time to finish off the fight with the ult.
Yeah, and you can just, GCU, they're not in any rush here. You still have Sound Barrier too from Ebullient. Honestly, they're fighting on their own clock. NAU,
Toad?
not what you wanted. I hope that's not on his own accord, but either way, it's a 4v5 favoring GCU. Ebullient running it down, had the Sound Barrier. That's a, I think it's a Glad actually, out of Omni too, to close that one out as GCU. I don't think they're going to allow NAU another touch onto this objective. Unfortunately, no catnapping for Annoyed Green once again. Him going down, I don't think anyone can even get there this time. We're gonna go to round 3.
A little bit of an unfortunate mistake there from Toad, and it has dire consequences that time for NAU. GCU even us up at 1 apiece. Once they realize, hey, the Sojourn is gone, a lot of the range damage is gone from NAU, it just opens the door for GCU to walk in with not too much of a worry. They're going into now the final round, into Gardens, and even Beasting, after going the Ramattra the first 2 rounds, realizing that maybe the Domina is the best way to go here to finish out.
Yeah, and I'd agree. I think that there is a lot of value to be gained from playing her. Again, the space that she can control, it's great. I think, as you said, Jesse, in close quarters battles like that, it's a lot harder to make work. But this time, it's actually going to be swapping. GCU are taking a page out of NAU Varsity's book. For Gardens, is the rollout is there from Annoyed Green, and Omni is sent reeling.
Yeah, that's not the way you want to start a fight. If you're GCU, you have a fantastic round on Control Center, and then somebody gets booped right away. So that'll open up the point immediately for NAU. Granted, potentially a touch here from Agent Alpha can try and send this into overtime.
No!
Well, that
was a failed
taxi didn't
lifeline.
work.
Oh,
yeah,
no.
that. Whoops.
Yeah, so GCU had a chance, and then yeah, no,
And
that's
then-
probably the worst thing that could have happened, especially if you get your own support's hands.
Some playtesting still required on the lifeline. It feels like sometimes you don't realize how low the person you were carrying is. This time the TP works.
Yeah, everyone's on the point, safe and sound. Actually, I'm not gonna jinx that until we're off that little bridge area, but it is gonna be a little difficult for Beasting to walk into Cartman's Orisa. Very commanding presence. Poke damage is kind of crazy, and you just don't have a speed boost here. to walk on through. They're very reliant on the poke or Agent Alpha finding an angle, but it's Marshmallow on his signature venture, popping on out, get a burst of damage onto Agent Alpha, who's was in a precarious spot, but able to swing back over to his team. Eventually, the Domina gets onto the point, beasting, trying to make something work, but Marshmallow, another fantastic rotation of cooldowns, punishes Agent Alpha for a bit of an overextension, and Toad there to clean up the rest as both supports down. A nice shot to finish it off.
Beautiful shot there from Toad. Omni almost gets staggered out as well. Does eventually get some healing from their support, and now Beasting's like, oh, we're not doing a dominant mirror? All right, I'll just go back over to the Ramatra. It's a decent matchup against the Orisa, even though I think at this point, maybe Orisa still slightly favored, but because of how long that fight went, Molly, this is final fight for the Lumberjacks. They can seal the map right here with Terra Surge and Beats. Granted, yes, the Lopes have both support ultimates and the overclock here from Omni, but they gotta find something early.
Are we gonna get our first successful catnap? That's what we need to find out. He's thinking about it, but it ends up not committing, taking the time. On the other side, Terra Surge out of Cartman. Yes, we do get a successful catnapper, I think. Maybe not. Okay, Toad eventually falls off the map, but at what cost? Your support was out in Narnia the whole time. Lilas and Beasting are both dead. Omni has to clutch this up by himself with an overclock, and he's getting run at by Cartman, who cannot be hit in the face. And the Varsity, we're gonna close this one out here, and now the cat has been dealt with, and this is looking all North Arizona in the kill feed, even as Lilas and Beasting come back for one last ride. The cat experiment did not work out for GCU on this map. That is an NAU thing for the time being, as they will be the ones to take Lijiang Tower.
Lumberjacks chop down the Lopes here to start off on Lijiang Tower, and now we can see if some of these bans, at least early on here, will make a difference late. But the most jetpack cat we have actually seen today, and yeah, very early here, especially at Annoying 3, you can tell, like, taking advantage, using that minor perk with the claws, and yeah, of course you're gonna go in at that point. You might as well try a little bit of a 1v1. The Lucio is great usually in those support 1v1s, but Lucio can't fly. So it's a little bit tricky when you're going up against jetpack cat to hit those shots.
Especially if she's just clawing and hissing at you. That's
yeah.
It's not great. You're gonna end up with a bunch of band-aids on your arms. So, yeah, that was fun. I gotta admit, I think NAU, one of the few teams that we're going to see experiment with these new heroes. We can clearly see the practice that has been going in onto them. Cartman, of course, the one to play the Domina for most of that map, only ended up swapping for the last part after it didn't work out so well. And you know, I think that there's a lot of room for this to be continued throughout the series. I just wonder if it was a specific, Gardens type composition, or we still have to get a little bit more comfortable in some of these combos before we do it more.
Yeah, you can tell these teams are, at least compared to our last game, more comfortable in trying to run this. Like, we almost got the Lifeline Deadeye. It's just, nobody touched the point to let the Deadeye actually go off, and we see a lot more of these Lifeline plays. And yes, there's going to be some growing pains, right? Like, you accidentally send your Domina off the edge. Maybe not a great start to the third round here for the Lopes. But I will say it's been great to see some Domina gameplay already, like you said, from Cartman. They're doing a fantastic job using that shield. And especially every time you hit somebody with those abilities, you're regaining shield health. So you can tell Cartman more kind of using it defensively sometimes. Like, oh, if I pop the crystal, gain up some of the shield health I'm missing. Or I can use just a little bit of like the Sonic Repulsors, and then, hey, get some of that shield health back. Wait for my shield to actually come up. If you can get into that rotation of abilities, and that Domina's just so hard to kill at that point. So, no, it's been great so far to see more Domina played, but I wonder if she will get banned now going into map 2.
Yeah, that is kind of a thought that's at the back of my mind.
Yeah.
I do think it will be map dependent. Like, if we go to like a Watch Puncher Brawler, probably not going to see a Domina ban, but it really will depend on what these teams are feeling. Have only seen the Brawl type compositions from them thus far, so it's just something to investigate as the series continues to go on. I do think that there's a lot for GCU that they were attempting, but just it didn't work out. Like, it wasn't even team play. It's just like these weird synergies. Like, you could kind of tell that they were learning as they were going. In a way, like, okay, how do we push in against the Domina? How can we deal with the jetpack cat or use a jetpack cat to our best advantage? And And that's kind of the advantage. If you have taken these last 4 or 5 days to really grind out these new heroes, learn their quirks, how it can work in your team, it's going to be a major advantage. And I think that's what NAU have showed us so far.
Yeah, and especially, like you said, with these new heroes, it's only been a few days since they came out. There's going to be a lot of growing pains. Like, we're going to see teams get better and better at these comps over the next few weeks. Nobody is expecting, I think, a lot of these new comps to look perfect. Blizzard World, surprisingly enough, no King's Row tonight. We get double Blizzard World. Definitely not what I thought we were getting tonight, but again, kind of leaning more towards the poke/dive angle. Maybe GCU is wanting to lean on a little bit more. They obviously played a lot of Soj during this first map, so maybe trying to lean into that strength a little bit.
I think that would make sense. Omni, whatever hit scan, was getting a good amount of value wherever. So I think Blizzard World does make a lot of sense for that. And also, I think just running the straight-up brawl, especially if one team is more confident in a Vendetta or is able to support a Vendetta better, you don't really want to find that out the hard way.
No.
So this does, I don't know about you, Jesse, feel more like a Domina map, that you could do it here. I don't know if it's nearly as good because it's a little too ranged. I'm not sure if I'm thinking about her value the best
it's
here.
playable, I think, on defense. It could be a little tricky to gain ground on offense. You would almost need your Vendetta to go make some space. Or go make whoever your flex DPS is to maybe force somebody off high ground. Or force a rotation so the rest of your team can move up. Because you don't have a moving shield. You don't have like a jab spin or a defense matrix to kind of usher your team through. You kind of can just send shield forward and hope the other team just doesn't push past it. And at that point, you have no protection for you and the rest of your team. On defense, it can be a lot harder to do that walk up and push through that shield. So if we see the Domina, I have a feeling it'll be more on the defense side, but we do have the potential for it, actually. GCU will ban out the Vendetta, which did give them some issues, so it's a reasonable ban here. And NAU will answer with the Lucio, so potentially more Jetpack Cat. That's what it's telling me.
You know, I'm getting flashbacks to how that went from our previous match, where there was an attempt to just move the tank up a little bit too far up, but it was cool. It kind of worked until you did it too, like it worked, and you're like, oh, it can work more. No, that's it. Too much.
Stop.
Too much dip on your chip, as my fun friend would like to say. So, when you really have to consider. Are you abandoning the rest of your team when you're using Jetpack Cat? You are very prone to that, and it did happen a little bit on our previous map. We'll see. I highly doubt that is a defense thing, which of course we will focus on first. It is GCU who got to go there, as NAU actually opted to go for the attack.
Yeah, not often teams elect to go for the attack first on this map. It's usually the defense, so a little bit of an interesting choice here from the Lumberjacks. We'll see how it all works out. GCU on the defense, again, with that Lucio being banned by the Lumberjacks, it'll actually be kind of this, again, ultra poke, right? Baptiste, Wu Yang, Omni's on the Ashe, who is still pretty consistently good right now. So, again, just going to try and keep NAU at bay, and maybe with Agent Alpha being a little bit of an agent of chaos when NAU are trying to walk on up. And potentially here is some more tomfoolery with the Jetpack Cat. Annoyed Green is continuing on it right now. And let's see who they try and lifeline early if they do anybody. Oh, yep, there goes Cartman.
Goodbye, Cartman! Oh, no, they just dropped him. Well, okay, so not as crazy as the last map. I wonder if they're going to try to put him, like, do they just put him on the high ground, like, up where the rest of the team is? They had to use Suzu already, and Marmello had to jump ship. I'm not sure if that was accidental or not, but you got Cartman to the high ground regardless, and he uses the Sonic Repulsors to just push everyone off straight to where Marmello was waiting. That was actually a fantastic 1-2 punch from the NAU team. Very creative, and those are the kind of things I want to be seeing with these new heroes.
Yeah, that's a perfect way just to get everybody off high ground. Annoyed Green almost doing some scouting, like, hey, where are you guys at? Now it has to tuck away. First tick already achieved.
Yeah, and Marmello is still farming, and this is kind of his bread and butter, or his rocks to be munched, is this venture. It's looked really good so far, especially on follow-up, and gets NAU varsity 5.5 minutes and change on second point.
Didn't even feel like a real fight. Like, it was just like, oh, I need to push some space. And they got one pick, and GCU felt like they couldn't win the fight. And it's definitely a weird one to start out, but NAU ain't gonna complain whatsoever. Over 5 minutes going into second phase. GCU playing super far back as well, trying to deny Marmello more of that value that we especially saw during first phase.
You said Marmello, but I'm also, do you want to put as much distance between you and Annoyed Green's drop shipping of Cartman as possible? So you at least have a chance to get some poke on either the Domina or the Jetpack Cat before they get too close. And it's worked out for Omni so far. Omni showing to be a very competent hit scan player if he has the space, and it's, in this case, taking out Wet Noodle.
Yeah, Wet Noodle gone. She'll have to find a lifeline, and well, Annoyed Green will have a very similar fate. And that kind of puts a giant pause on this attack here for NEU.
Ha 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 ha. Did you do that on purpose?
No, that was completely off the tongue. we're kind of we're not.
Man, you should have just
this,
gone
let's
with it,
be-
Jesse. You
Well,
had an opportunity there. Or saying something about cats not liking water.
True.
That was the other one. Man, I'm just, as soon as this cat came in the game, I'm like, I'm in cook with some of these races. But speaking of cooking, Cartman is getting cooked by having a bomb at his back and Agent Alpha at his feet. So no take there for NAU Varsity. GCU, much better posture on this defense.
Yeah, and the catnapping unsuccessful this time for Annoyed Green. They're going to stick with it though. Hey, I respect it. Toad. What a play there from Agent Alpha. Just patience, realizing, hey, Toad completely alone.
And just don't go to small room where there might be a venture. Just like a hit
Or
stand.
just check the corners, everybody. Reminder.
That too.
Hit the sign.
Yeah, if you're a venture player, you're gonna play ratty, and that is exactly what Agent Alpha did there. You just completely catch players off guard if you're not checking every single angle. And yeah, that's something that at University, thankfully, they're close enough. They tried to push with it. Cartman threw out the ultimate, although I can't see if it landed on anybody. Gonna go with no, but at least you got Agent Alpha down. Took a bit of an over-aggressive push, not seeing the rest of his team backed off after burrowing in. So GCU, now on a 4v5, they're gonna step back a little bit now as Toad and Cartman have controlled height.
Yeah, NAU full high ground control. You can see Agent Alpha maybe teasing with Fate a little bit.
Boom! Or Omni, as a matter of fact. Toad just gonna go ahead and pop the overclock, see if he can get any more after that fantastic shot onto the opposing hit scan. It doesn't come up with a whole lot, and then a couple of shots into Beasting, just blocking arms there. Does have Annihilation though, Jesse. I'm kind of waiting for him to just drop and run it down. That seems very much like something that he would be doing, but GCU definitely biding their time. Now Lilas says, all right, it's go. We press the green button, and Beasting wants to press his shining button, but only if he needs it. You might, because Marmello already got your support and is pulling out the Tectonic Shock, taking an uncomfortable position with no support. That last wave pushed Lilas out of position entirely. That is the Annihilation completely down to waste. GCU, and they had a good hold, they had a good standpoint, but NAU Varsity just not letting them fully get their footing back for the most part.
Yeah, NAU kind of having to play relaxed there for a second. Annoyed Green, very ballsy play, diving in, but now, hey, the value is there for a moment.
Well,
oh my God, they got the ramp.
It was nice knowing ya. I think you take that trade. Honestly, who's contested the card? Absolutely nobody. I can tell you that, especially with Cartman. Nice Sonic Repulsor there at the end, hitting onto the Agent Alpha. Deny the touch. That's 3 minutes now for NAU Varsity with our second successful catnapping.
Yeah, catnapping starting to be a little bit of a trend now in this series. And yeah, Annoyed Green, they have a perfect spot here on the platform to the right as well, if they want to continue that. But look at this, Domino, full high ground. You're welcome.
Oh yeah, wait, hey, why does it take up there? Oh yeah, she can be dragged by a lifeline by her favorite little cat friend. So Jetpack Cat proving very useful for NAU Varsity so far. I like the thought that they're putting into it. Marmello doesn't have any thoughts. Got blown up. It's like that pillar, not enough cover for the venture, but there are no venture for either team. GCU sees that as an opportunity though, throws out the bomb on for Omni to get doped by Annoyed Green at the end of things, trying to get back to his team, but it's getting spotted out, although Agent Alpha can't really do much about that. No, what? Oh, that sucks.
That's unfortunate. Annoyed Green thought he was in the clear, and Bob said no right before he got sent back away. 2 minutes still for the Lumberjacks, and the ultimate is back online here for Cartman. Kind of more used defensively as of late, though.
Yeah, I honestly think it's better defensively or more as like a fight closer. It doesn't seem like much of an initiative tool from what I've seen thus far, but a great Tidal Blast actually stunned up both Cartman and Wet Noodle. Abellant and well, what was Agent Alpha had it under control there.
Yeah, there's a nice simple fight there from GCU, and yes, it doesn't take a ton of time off the clock, but it's a very inexpensive one as well. But like I said, now oh my god, they're gonna put Napticon with the lifeline, maybe. Oh.
You know, I'm wondering if Cartman gets good value out of this. Do you use the catnapping to cancel out Annihilation? I'm seeing that as a real possibility,
I
but for
can
now,
see it.
it'll be the Kitsune Rush. And Toad finding value out of it, even though it's not his own. That's exactly what's going to happen. Beasting got picked up, but actually takes Annoyed Creed out of the fray before it happens. Nonetheless, though, Toad still frying on the overclock. If the Sojourn has not been contested, he has been putting in the work. For an varsity GCU seem to have lost their grip on the defense for the final time. A couple more players trickling onto the objective. Still have Tectonic Shock out of Agent Alpha, but no chance to use it as the touch is nowhere to be found.
Touching out there, but under a minute for the Lumberjacks here on their attack. So 55 seconds left on the board. If GCU cap in overtime, then they at least get an overtime push regardless. But yes, you look at the kills here. You're like, oh, it's actually pretty even. If anything, slightly GCU favored. It's just NAU took very smart fights. They tried to take them pretty nice and slow, and even if it wasn't always eliminations, we saw like the one catnapping, drags the Ramacha off point. Cartman is able to use the Sonic Repulsors at that point, push away anybody else that was trying to touch, and you get a free point without really winning the fight. So I think those kind of plays right now that are pushing NAU over the edge, even if you look at the scoreboard, GCU are pretty much even right now.
I know all those people that like are holding tab constantly in their games, like reading the scoreboard. This is what team play is about, right? It's so far away from what the stats actually show. Like your ability to creatively take space, catch your opponent off guard, command certain areas of the map, all are going to feed into how it works. And playing objectives, that's the other big one that I think did go really well there for NAU. Jetpack Cat, of course, being a huge tool in that.
Oh, just a fantastic tool. And you can see, again, NAU are getting a lot of value out of this Jetpack Cat, whether it be just sending it into the back line, right? Diving out of the ash, getting the claws a little bit deep in there, but also, obviously, it's kind of pretty much taxiing around Cartman with the lifeline, not making those rotations take as much time. And in part, they're getting more fights because that prep time is getting slashed every single fight. They're able to get that kind of a setup. But now the answer is, can GCU push through this composition that we talked about was probably going to be better on the defense anyways?
Yeah, that's kind of the thought for that composition is how can you make this work on the attack if you have to move so slow into him? Well, you ban Lucio, you make sure your opponents can't move quick, and then you just taxi Cartman around in a 5-star Uber. So it's going pretty good for NAU varsity and arguably easier now. GCU have to find a way to disrupt positioning, and if Agent Alpha sticks this Symmetra, I think that's a fantastic way to do it.
Yeah, because then obviously you don't have the Lucio, but you have some way to get around the shield here from the tank of Cartman. So, yeah, you can at least push around the barrier array. Obviously, it's if you've realized it, obviously it's not just a flat shield in front of you either. It covers the flanks, which makes it really hard for especially DPS like Tracer and Genji and Reaper and even to a degree the Venture, because you really have to commit at that point. So that's why this TP probably going to try and go right on the point or right across the choke.
Yeah, taking a bit of poke. I wonder if they just meet them on high ground.
Good point.
This is gonna go around. I think that's better. Agent Alpha puts it down, but has to go quite a bit out of the safety of the choke to do it. And Toad picks up both supports as a result of that long rotation. It was like really just a matter of half a second. Cartman gets one off the map actually with the Sonic Repulsors. And yeah, GCU, I like the idea, just the execution wasn't there.
Yeah, supports need to live if you're going to do it. Cartman, well, it's stuck in the ceiling there, actually. But yeah, I didn't mind that. Well, we got teased there for a second by Agent Alpha, teasing the on-run just to go over to the Genji. Instead, Simplay didn't work, maybe trying to deflect a lot of this damage on entry instead.
Yeah, they're just going to try to walk high ground the old-fashioned way. I'm okay with that. As long as everybody gets to high ground. Smart Mellow. That's a dangerous spot to have a Venture at your back. So GCU, if you need to turn and burn or get moving quickly, does force the Burrow out of NAU's Venture and forces the rest of the team to drop from high ground. So there everyone is going to reset on David Marlowe. That's a cheeky little angle that you managed to find over there, but it's still a difficult time for them walking towards the objective. Using the judo speed rings would be ideal just to help Beasting walk forwards, but you're just losing players before they start. These fights start. The poke difference going in favor of Wet Noodle. She's actually going to come up second there onto Beasting in terms of final blows. Half the time bank is gone, and GCU have not gotten a single pick.
Yeah, it's been a roll so far here for NAU, and now Ultimates being online as well. The catnapping, you can see Annoyed Green playing it's very far up near attacker side statues. They know, like, hey, if I want to get somebody, it's got to be back here.
Yeah, that's okay. You still got him. That's
Rude.
not too bad. Jetpack Cat might as well have like half the spawn time of everyone else.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like Lucio on steroids as well. You know you're going to get back faster than the person you just killed in the process. So that's pretty much a fight win for NAU. Annoyed Green will eventually get back. But now, hey, you have Panopticon as well from Cartman to even try and deny. You can put on Omni and deny that first shot of Deadeye too.
Yeah, I wonder. That's actually a really smart play for that to happen. We'll see what Omni ends up doing with it. It's gonna be hard to get in a position where Deadeye gets value. You do actually get the Kiriko though. So Wet Noodle being down means there needs to be more focus on this. But Cartman has just been looking unstoppable on the Domino thus far. It's gonna start getting punched on the top. Says, you know what, Beasting, high ground can be yours. You don't have a team to support you, so I'm gonna let my cat scratch you. And just like that, only a minute left for the GCU attack.
Playing extremely far up is Toad, and now GCU making some swaps. It'll be the Winston for Beasting, and Agent Alpha makes another swap back over to the Venture now, but something's got to give. Great, you have Orbital right for entry, maybe Window as well once you get to point, even with a Deadeye, but you just got to get one of these off.
Yeah, I think a little early on this overclock from Toad.
Bit.
Yeah, everyone, it buys like 7 seconds, however long that's fully active, and Toad's off high ground. That's something that GCU could definitely take advantage of, and Beasting will attempt to do that before getting brutally booped off. But there we go, Omni taking care of the pesky cat in the sky, and there's the Deadeye we wanted to see. Gonna opt to walk it over toward the objective. Has a speed ring, and there goes Wet Noodle. No support now for NAU, at least for a couple of seconds here. Marmello, though, wants to try to turn this around. Gets the Venture Dip on the Agent Alpha, and looking to turn towards the point and take out Lilas. Cartman there with the pinch. Again, no healing for the team. It's just ones being won all over the map for Northern Arizona University, and that trend will continue. It's 2 maps now over to NAU.
They're taking full advantage of these new heroes being in, and you can't blame them at all. NAU 2-0 to start, but you gotta wonder again. We just saw an almost reverse sweep in the last one. We'll see if GCU can find a similar turnaround to what Doan did, but yeah, it feels like right now NAU obviously feeling pretty well going into this regardless, but they feel like they've got a really good touch on this potential new meta that's developing with the Domina and the Jetpack Cat. It's so much movement, but also so much damage and sustain for the front line with Domina. She can kind of self-sustain with all those abilities and her shield. So it's just a lot. And if you haven't scrimmed against it very much in these first few days of the patch, you're pretty much, like you said earlier, learning on the fly, and you can tell GC are trying to think of ways to play around the Domina and play around the Jetpack Cat. I feel like they're getting Annoyed Green a little bit more often with the Jetpack Cat. It is the Domina now that I think is becoming the issue, because they just had no way of even getting to point as a full 5.
Not at all. Cartman has been impeccable on that pick so far, and he's going to look to keep that up as they head into what could potentially be the 3rd and final map for Northern Arizona University. GCU, though, they got one more hero band and map to pick, though. Let's see if they can find themselves again within this series today. We're going to send it to a quick break, give them a chance to get set up, and we'll be back with the continuation of our Division 3 matchup.
climb but first. But I've only stumbled over diamonds, and I no longer fear the worst.
We find ourselves once again at a position for a sweep. Will it be reversed? We almost had it. We got to game 5, but with the way that this one has been going, it seems NAU have been putting in the hours over the past couple of days. Their Domina Jetpack Cat comps have been looking great tonight.
Yeah, they've been looking fantastic, and you would think for GCU, one of the two is getting banned here in map 3, whether it be Domina or Jetpack Cat. If I would say, I'd probably guess Domina, just because Jetpack Cat, like if you go to a King's Row, there's nowhere for them to go. Obviously, King's Row not an option because Blizzard World already got picked, so they go to New Junk City. There's a couple of places you can get a catnapping to work. I think it's what, two flashpoints out of the 5 you can get one off. But
yes.
they don't ban Domino or Jetpack Cat. They will ban the Cassidy, which tells me GCU were trying to run some sort of dive, whether it be like a Genji or a Winston, whatever. NAU in turn will just ban the BAP, so they can pretty much lock in playing the Jetpack Cat again.
Yeah, so I was thinking, like, not banning the Jetpack Cat, I guess, it's not super useful here compared to other points, especially because there are ceilings. I think Jetpack Cat and ceilings have a very poor relationship with each other. I wonder if the cast ban is for the Venture or a Vendetta, potentially. I think that Agent Alpha struggled with that before. And then, the other thing we forgot about is Squid is subbing in for NAU. Last time we saw him on stream, he did actually play main support. He is listed as a DPS, so I wasn't sure if that was an awful or not, but he will be in, potentially playing the Vendetta for NAU for now.
Yeah, it'll be looking like the Vendetta. GCU maybe giving in to the dominant gameplay that we've seen tonight. Beasting goes over to the Domina himself. So a little bit of a Domina 1v1 for the first time here, at least on stream, for NECC. But it's going to be the Kiriko Cat once again here for NAU. The more traditional Lucio Kiri for GCU.
I do wonder how having the Lucio for speed is going to affect it. I mean, Squid doesn't care. He's fast, he can vault over the ceiling, and hey, who needs to worry about speed if everyone's dead? Nobody's on NAU varsity. So Squid's just gonna open the door wide open for that, and Cartman gonna slam it shut on their fingers along with Toad. So very well played by NAU varsity with the rotations.
Yeah, you can tell Toad's just going to linger. Anytime anybody gets low, whether it be from a Squid or a quick drive-by from Annoyed Green, like something's gonna happen. Oh my god, they're about to do an overhead strike with the
Please do
lifeline.
this.
Please do this. We're watching.
Not the tactical nuke Vendetta, or just throw him straight into the team. I mean, hey, that works too. Who needs verticality? Squid happy to go in there, and it's actually Annoyed Green who ends up getting the final blow there with a little paw punch, you can call it that. That is a stun, though, into the wall for the cat, and she will crumple. No support there for NAU. So it started off really cool. It was creative. That one ended up backfiring a bit, unless Cartman just does Cartman things like he has been.
Yeah, Cartman would have to go pretty big here and win a 1v3, or even just stay alive for the rest of their team to get back, but they will not. So 74% for the Lumberjacks, but it will eventually be a GCU flip. Maybe just flying a little bit too close to the sun. Annoyed Green during that, but here is the advantage. It's like a Lucio Taxi on steroids here, with the lifeline and a little bit of a boost.
Yeah, plus healing if it ever gets to that point, but you're typically not attached to the Jetpack Cat for that long. But Cartman, though, looking really good so far on the Domina as he has been. There's the Panopticon put onto the back line, and Squid, Wet Noodle there to help clean up what their tank has started. I like this from NAU Varsity. They're going into every fight with a clear idea of how they want it to go.
Ooh, that was disgusting. Squid.
Feel that tomorrow.
Yeah, I see you. I don't think GC will get at least a good touch here. It looks like they're positioned to get one underneath, potentially for Agent Alpha, but you gotta wait for the rest of the team to even get close.
Ooh, Annoyed Green in a bit of danger with the purr, that burst heal. You really gotta be careful. That is easy to underestimate. And so was kind of Toad and Squid being this little tag team duo in the backline. Cartman holds the line, and half the rest are not anywhere near the point because Cartman is on it. It's like, hey, where'd everybody go? To the next objective, apparently.
Yeah, and look at that. Toad, Hack, Virus, dead for Beastie. That is exactly how you want that to go if you are the Sombra, even though, oh god, Agent Alpha, yeah, a little bit close to the members of Northern Arizona. Going over to the second one, the catnapping. This is one that the catnapping can actually get value, but too bad Annoyed Green won't be alive for it.
that void circle felt really personal. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah. The vortex. I'm beasting. Like, I'm sick of the flying cat. Come down to the ground, say hi for a bit. So again, she'll be back before the fight even starts.
No!
The EMPs are gonna start that out. Oh no, the Kitsune rush. I think that still went out. There's so much red on my screen. I genuinely can't tell. But either way, GCU sent back to the spawn, and NAU varsity happy to work with that 4v5.
It got canceled mid-animation.
Oh, that sucks.
That is one heck of an EMP from Toad. Like, you get everybody stunned up. GCU are pretty much ready to push in. They know that Kitsune Rush is going down, and then all of a sudden it's not, and no abilities are available. Just a beautiful play there from Toad. And you can set up in this setup that's super hard to push through.
They're gonna look for it, but again, Cartman so quick to build the Panopticon. Squid brings down the side ring blade and slicing Lilas in half. NAU varsity, major advantage here. The Sound Bear not really doing all that much for GCU as they're just down too many players to make much of a difference at the end of the day. As NAU, they're allowing GCU to reset fast enough to get another fight.
Yeah, and look at this. Mizuki is now in play from Ebulant. That was not a pick we really expected. I think we saw Mizuki for like 3 seconds during the end of NAU's attack over on Blizzard World, but this is a change.
Okay. Yeah, we've officially seen all 5 of our new heroes be played for tonight, but GCU, pretty much full composition makeover here. You just can't really do it. It's an unfortunate time. You're already in overtime on the point if you're NAU varsity. GCU, I think they know that they're on their last leg here. You have one more flashpoint, start turning this around, so you might as well give this a shot. Okay, Cartman.
Yeah, try and just something different. I think the binding chain, if Ebulant was going to stick to it, could have been a big help, but instead just goes back over to the Lucio. So Mizuki, not very, long lasting, but nice to see the new support in for a tiny bit. The Orisa, you can tell, really trying to deal with a lot of tomfoolery here from NAU, but it's still Squid with the opener.
Yeah, Squid, I think just with Cartman, fighting in a small hallway should be illegal. I think against the NAU varsity comp. If you could get Omne more on his feet there, I think there was a chance, but GCU, there was just no time to do it.
Yeah, no time at all. It'll be another Lumberjack cap to start off. And look at this, Molly. Still, Panopticon ready to go. Catnapping, which granted, you're more just going to maybe usher somebody away from the fight here than off the map. And Toad looking for another massive EMP. No ults on the board yet for the Lopes.
Oh, that hits onto everybody. It is lights out for GCU. Pretty much faster than you can say it. Fantastic play from Toad.
I don't even know if they needed the Kitsune Rush. Oh, I'm going to be so real. I don't think they needed it, but why not? Style points added on here for NAU. Depending on how long this fight goes, last fight, GCU won't have a sound barrier to keep them in this. We'll be looking at Lilas for another Kitsune Rush. There is no EMP this time, at least. To cancel it out. Oh my god, Beastie.
It's the gold one!
This is
It's
the
the rare gold
This is the
one!
luck.
Okay, Beasting, he's got to put it down to fight, though.
It's gotta mean
It's a good
something,
like
right?
squishing. It's got to mean something. Beasting, that was the time. If GC are going to win a fight, it will be here and now. But Cartman might have something to say about it. Panopticon is out onto 3. Squid into the back line once more. And it seems the golden squishy might have something to do with Agent Alpha. He actually ends up coming with 3 here. And Beasting is on the point. The golden squishy, Jesse. It's not over for GCU.
There is hope here for the Lopes. I honestly didn't even think that the Golden Squishy was real because I have yet to pop it. when I'm playing the hero, so I'm a little jealous. I can't lie. Catnapping available here for NAU, but that's really about it. They kind of put everything in, thinking it was going to be a one fight.
Yeah, that's a fantastic Terra Surge, though.
Oh, wow.
It pulls into 4, but Squid just found Bevelin. Beasting doing his best to trade this out. It's actually kind of even so far. The main concern, of course, is Cartman, who is alive and kicking and is pretty self-sustainable, as we have seen from Domina so far. But Beasting, again, it's like he unleashed the beast. Since he pulled out that golden squishy, unfortunately does not have that much luck against the beam of Cartman. Still full health, by the way, as we have been seeing quite a bit. And it seems a small burst of luck, what could have been the craziest storyline of all time, will come to an end here. Then NAU get the flip back over. Overtime will burn on out. And they are now up 2-0 on the regular season.
Yeah, perfect record so far for the Lumberjacks. And the team, they took full advantage of this new patch. And you can tell they've been putting in the hours during these last 3 days, especially Cartman on the Domina. Just so many great plays left and right. This could be a dangerous team to look out for, not just for this conference here in the West, but for D3 as a whole. It feels like nothing could go wrong for the Lumberjacks tonight. And you can tell GCU, I don't even think as much it was ill preparedness for NAU. I think it was just maybe not enough time yet on this new patch, and a lot of notes going into future weeks. I could see GCU obviously now 0-2 on the season. Once this season gets going, once they learn these new heroes, I could see the Lopes really starting to climb back up. For right now, NAU sitting atop here in the conference.
Yeah, NAU, I think this week and potentially for the next 2, maybe I can foresee them having a good leg up on a lot of these other teams. If they're going to continue to experiment with the new characters like this, where a lot of people haven't, you might have up to a week's worth of extra time on this specific composition, not to mention an actual NECC match to back it up. So I think for NAU, they're on a very good path. There's very few teams, I have a feeling tonight, that we're going to be that much, I guess, committed to all of these new heroes. And GCU, one of them that just didn't have the opportunity to practice against it ahead of today. And it's things like this that we're going to see, especially as more heroes get added into the game, Jesse, it's going to be difficult to prepare for.
Yeah, there's still 5 more heroes dropping this year. You know, like, whoops, you know, like, just at least a little more spread out than this drop was. But you could tell, like, even in OWCS boot camp that we've seen, some of those OWCS teams had struggles early on in these scrims because they're trying to learn a lot of these new compositions, what's possible with some of these new heroes. Obviously, they were also running, like, full 5 stacks for the new heroes. That's, like, never going to be an actual comp, but it was fun. You could tell NAU doing their homework, getting some extra little VODs in, maybe before the patch even landed, and then really getting to work on 2 of these heroes in Jetpack Cat and Domina. And it paid off, and like you said, I wouldn't want to play this team next week. I wouldn't want to play this team in 2 weeks, because it's going to be hard, especially these next 2 weeks, to really figure out how to counter it out, because you're probably learning how to play it yourself.
Yeah, you got to invest early, and that's exactly what NAU did, and that stock just happens to be going up right about now, and it could probably will continue to. And NAU, a team that has a ton of potential, especially in Division 3. They've been on an upwards trend since fall semester, and it seems like the spring has not put a stop to that so far.
No, it's been just the beginning here, and it's going to be a long semester ahead, everybody. Get ready, because this is just the first week of the new heroes, right? Like, I have a feeling once we get more and more, there's going to be a lot more of these new heroes to be seen. Pretty much 0 honor on tonight, which is a little sad, but no, we will see as we keep going here how these new heroes impact us in Collegiate, which already it feels like more chaotic than ever. But these new heroes were just icing on the cake.
Absolutely. It is more fun every single week that we get to watch.
Oh, yeah.
So, again, thank you all for all of our teams, our players, for making the gameplay awesome, and then, of course, to all of you for coming out to support our collegiate teams in their college esports journey. That's, of course, going to do it for us here on the desk tonight for Overwatch, as well for week 2 of the entirety of NECC. Make sure you tune back in for the continuing of competition on Monday. We have Valorant, Marvel Rivals, CS2, and Rocket League on Wednesday, League of Legends Thursday, and, of course, our personal favorite, Overwatch Friday. So, be there, be square, people. Keep supporting our collegiate esports athletes, and we will see you on next Monday.